early on our 1 year. I just can't. We'll see. It'll show up here soon. Watch live. It says watch live.
Okay, so
Hold
I'm
on.
laughing.
I think we only have one
But
person here.
we'll let a few people come on
Yeah,
because
let's see.
Chantel has something really funny to say.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
dying. She literally texted me like 2 minutes ago, and I was like, "You gotta save it for the live." And then she like blurted it out, and I'm like,
I
"Oh my
couldn't
God,
help it.
Chantel!" And this is things that we need to be said on the internet. Like it's too
There
funny to
are
not share with
things,
all of you.
there are many things I blurt out that it's like, don't say that on the live, okay? But like,
This has to be on the live. But I just, it's too bad that I was not recording so we could get our genuine reaction.
oh, you're still reacting, and it's like
Because
3 minutes
it's
later.
hilarious. Okay, we have 13 people now.
All right.
Let's go ahead.
And we'll
Tell
repeat this
tell the
later.
crowd,
So,
tell the
guys, I've
crowd
been
what you
working
told
on my
me.
garment. It looks okay in this view. It's it's really large, like too large. Like it's it would be great for somebody 2 sizes larger than me. So I go upstairs and I show my husband, who has very few opinions about anything ever.
I can't drink. I can't until you say
He's
this.
going to spit it out.
I'm gonna spit it out. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm like, how does it look? He's like, it's a really good start. And I'm like, this is unfortunately like close to the finish or whatever. And he's like, it's really big on you. And I said, yeah, I know. I'm a little worried about it. Like, what if I wore it to a doctor function? He's like, that might not be good. You know what? You should take it in for alterations.
He died
I
laughing.
made the dress, guys. He's telling me to take it in for alteration.
The dress she made. What? But you did the muslin. Was the muslin like this?
The muslin never got the skirt attached all the way, or I would have known. But it's I mean, everything turned out a little different on this one. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm
I
wearing
will say,
a
whenever
sack.
I do a pattern for myself, it ends up being way too big. Lily today was running around the house in the dress I made for her baptism when she
Mm-hmm.
was like 2.5 years old. She's 5.5.
And it
And
finally
I
fits.
can still, no, it fits fine then, but she's just still slim enough to where it works for her. And I sized it right and everything. But it's T-length now, and it's still I can zip it up. I can maybe bring it with on the cruise. So I
I
feel like a lot of garment patterns are like this, and that's why and this is our learning moment, is that you do have to make the whole damn muslin, Chantel. You can't just do the top.
yeah. Ah.
But I'm just dying. I can't believe
You
you told
should
you to
take it in
take
for alterations. He's
your
like, do you have
handmade
someone?
dress.
I'm like, I am the someone, sweetheart. Oh my God. I was like, he's like, well, you just take it in a little somewhere. And I'm like, yeah, that requires like deconstructing more than half of the garment, though. I mean, luckily it's ruffled here. It all take it in from. I'm just like, can I take it to somebody I know? Can I take it to Steph 2.0 and have her help me?
I
He's
mean,
like,
you
I
could.
have to work tomorrow. I'm like, great.
When is your event?
I just asked him that like a few minutes ago if I could take it to Stephanie 2.0. And he
Well,
said I
when
could
is your Oh,
next
okay, good.
weekend.
Okay. So, oh
Don't worry,
Chantel.
I already tried it
Let
with a
me see the
belt. It
back
looks
again.
terrible.
Let me see. Well, yeah, you can't belt that
I
kind of
mean,
a
I'm
waistline.
like, it needs like
I mean, that'll help right there.
I
That
know.
does
And then,
something.
but this is low. I think I can do it all in the
I
lower
mean,
section.
part of it is just the style of the dress. Like
Yes.
there's no zipper, so it has to be able to go over your shoulders. So
And the
you
thing
are
is,
limited in that.
yeah, I wanted to just be able to get over me without,
It's
I
got to
was
fit
like,
over your boobs and it's got to fit over your shoulders.
right. I was like, what if I add a little thing here, to like, but I don't know. I'm like, I'm just going to be naked with my purse.
Did you get your shoes done? You can wear your
No,
shoes.
I haven't had time. Oh my gosh. I made a
Oh,
dress. I'm very
Chantel.
proud of
You
the
know
fact that
what?
I
Wear
made
the
a whole
dress,
dress.
be excited about the dress, and you can get tips on how to do better on the next dress.
I mean, you're better fitted in your moo
I
than,
mean,
than I
oh
am
my
in my
God.
dress.
Okay, so I did a little tucky tuck, getting a little bit of fabric underneath the
Mhm.
breasticles. And I did it in front of my husband, and it was such like a just ingrained move that I didn't even think about
Yeah,
doing
it's
it.
just
He
one of
looks at
these.
me, he looks at me and he goes, "What the hell was that?" I'm like, well, they're basically two extra armpits, and sometimes I have to put deodorant on there. So I was doing a
I
little
mean,
tuck so that
that's
I didn't
something to
sweat
fold. I
because
feel
I
that.
nursed for 3.5 years and they're double D's and they just kind of hang there now. So
Yeah, do
welcome to
your ears hang
motherhood
low?
and
It wasn't
40.
their ears that they were talking about when
No,
they're
it
like,
was
do they
not.
hang low?
Down and
Lol.
to the side.
It's funny because it doesn't look too bad in the live, but the way that it's hanging in real life, it's clearly just too low on my small torso, like my short torso.
That could be because patterns are made for people who are like 5'6", and you and I are not 5'6". We're not even
No,
close to
and
five
I
six.
have normal length legs. Like I can't wear petite pants. I'm only 5'1.5". And but my torso is
You're
short.
really claiming that half.
You gotta clean the half
You
because
do.
when you're that tiny, you take whatever you can. But yeah, he told me I should go get for anybody who has just joined us. I made this dress. I have to wear this next week. My husband says basically that it's a good start. I should go take it to get alterations on
The dress that she made.
on the dresses that I made.
Sorry. I'm not laughing at your dress. I'm laughing at John.
It's just like
He has no idea that that's like the worst possible thing that somebody could say about something that you made yourself. Oh, you
it's
better like
really
punish
good.
him
Take it
and
to a professional. Like,
not let him get any for like a week for that comment. I mean, goodness gracious.
I mean,
He's in timeout.
I am in a bag. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, but that's the style of dress you chose, too.
Yeah, but it's like a lot of bag, a little extra bag than normal. I mean, I can wear it. I can pull it off. Maybe if I just take off the skirt and take in the top, like more crossover.
Well, what does that do to the back when you do that?
The back
Turn
needs to
around.
come up
Hold that
though,
there. Hold it there and turn to the side. Let me take a look at this.
because it's a ruffle. But I need
That
to,
looks better. It doesn't come out as much when you do that.
the back needs to come up a little bit because this is all empire and such, and this is like sitting on my butt. Any
I mean, it'll
ideas,
make you look like
anyone?
you have a butt in that situation. So I feel like this is a win-win situation.
It's true because my poor little pancakes there look like waffles. So
I know.
we
I've
we
got
almost got buns,
I
guys.
got a set of hams on me, and you're just like,
I mean, yeah, you got a full brisket.
I do.
I got nothing. I got some thin sliced bacon, maybe.
Not even a thick cut.
No, not even a thick cut. I'm like that cheap like Aldi brand that's mostly like fat, doesn't have any like muscle in it. Yeah.
Yeah, that one I bought that before. That did not go out well. I get a lot of Aldi stuff,
Well, it
but
like shrinks to nothing
it
when you
like
cook
it
it.
starts this big and then it ends up this big.
Yeah,
And
that's what I
you're
need
like,
to
I
do
have
with
the
this dress.
teeniest piece of bacon.
You know
Yes.
what? I should have made this dress without pre-washing it because if I wash it, now it would be the perfect size.
I mean, but then your sleeves would do weird things, and
That's true. My sleeves are already doing weird things.
your sleeves, honestly, that top looks great, I think. The top
It,
half. I
it's
mean, you see some boobage there, but
you know
again,
what?
it's
I
the
need to
style.
distract from everything else. My purse is great. Ah.
Let's see your purse.
Oh, the purse is wonderful. It's like if I
Oh, that,
cross the purse
see, there you
over,
go.
it might help the look a little bit.
Actually, it does a lot because it pushes it down a lot in the back.
So maybe the purse is the saving
You
grace of it.
just can't take the purse off. You're fine. Just
It's
wear it as it
Chicago. You
is.
don't take the purse off.
It just wear it as it is
All right.
and have it be a learning experience that next time you have to make the whole muslin, Chantel.
I'm wearing heels though, so I don't look too like
Yeah, it'll elongate you some.
I might take apart this front and like take that in
Oh,
a touch.
just show off the girls. Forget about that.
Yeah, I don't have a proper bra for this kind of adventure. This is full
I know what you
adventure.
can. I know what you can use, Chantel.
I don't have the lift in my body for the cutlets that I so graciously splashed you with. All right.
Can I
Oh
tell
my
the
gosh.
story? Can I tell it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have to go get changed, by the way,
Okay,
because
so
I'm
Chantel's gonna go off camera, and I'm gonna tell the story. And we were on a cruise last year, and we
we're
went to
getting
college together
personal.
like 20 years ago, but it has been a while since we spent a significant amount of time together in person. And so we're on like 17-day cruise, and we're on like maybe day 2 or 3 of it. And I'm in the bathroom getting ready, and Chantel is in the room getting dressed for dinner, and she has bought some really cute little pantsuit situations, jumpsuits that she had gotten the little cake things because you can't wear a regular bra with it. So she was making sure she was not going to have wardrobe malfunction. She's got these cake things. And I hear Chantel say, "Hey, Stephanie, come here." And I come in and I look, and Chantel is totally flashing me with the little cakes on. I'm just like, what the hell, Chantel? So I was not expecting that. So I technically saw nothing. It was like a little Kim situation, but she's just like dying laughing. And we hadn't had a drop to drink. This is just how Chantel is. And that's how we started our cruise together with Chantel flashing me in the middle of the stateroom. So this is the kind of friendship that we have, just in case you were ever wondering. But anyway, we've got some good suggestions on alterations. So that's good. But I hope we've lost some folks. Maybe people did not enjoy my, my incessant laughter. Ah,
It's
and the
totally
story of you
fine.
and the story of you flashing me on the cruise.
Oh, it wasn't a true flash, to be
It
fair.
was not. It was like a Lil Kim situation, is how I explained it.
It was
You had the necessary areas covered,
it,
but that was
it
not what I
was
was
two
expecting. It was not what I was
girlfriends
expecting.
hanging out, and I just blindsided her
I mean,
with the
let's be honest.
hilariousness. I mean,
I have breastfed for 3.5 years of my life. Everybody's seen my boobs. Everybody. It's
truth.
just, it's a thing. I saw you breastfeed Penny, just
Oh
whipped
yeah.
it out in front of my husband. And I was like, cool, whatever. Like,
It's more awkward for everybody else. It's like, dude, I'm feeding my kid.
I
Like,
know. It's like, it
it's
is what it
not,
is.
it's funny because I'm back to being like modest-ish about it.
I mean,
But
now,
at the
yes,
same
I would
time,
not just whip one out, but,
right.
to
Well,
breastfeed,
that's
it's
what
different.
I meant like, you know, I I am more surprised if I see somebody breastfeed their kid, but I remember how normal it was because I was doing it like 30 times a day.
Oh my God, yeah.
It was
I
just
did it
not a problem. It was like if it's a
in the,
problem for you, it's a problem for you.
I did it with Angela in the middle of a quilt show. It's hot AF because it was in a fairgrounds with no AC in like August. And someone's husbands just across the table. We're like waiting for our quilts to get back. And I'm just like, baby's got to eat. And it's hot. I'm not pulling a cover out. It is what it is.
Nope.
So,
I was feeding in a baby Tula carrier.
yeah.
I was feeding Hazel and she had that gorgeous like bright red hair, and I'm at an antique show and somebody walks up and starts petting her hair and she's like, "Oh, that's so beautiful. Is she sleeping?" I said, "No, she's eating." And
She didn't realize.
the no. that this was it. She just turned blanched out white, like could
Yeah.
not scurried away. It was the highlight of the antique fair, other than the really cool green lamp that I got.
So I was actually having a conversation with my esthetician when I was getting my arm hair waxed earlier this week. She's not so sure
Did you
about
get the nose
breastfeeding.
hairs done this time?
I did this time. They were turning into grandpa nose hair, so I got them ripped out as well.
I'm so
Um,
proud of you for being able to do that. I
just
mean,
just so everybody knows, hard wax. If you have a
there's no
nose hair
secrets.
problem, they can just stick a popsicle stick up your nose and yank that sucker out, and then you will not look like an
In
old
case you
grandpa.
were curious.
Yep. And you know what? You breathe a whole lot easier afterward. I'm just going to tell you. But,
You're almost making me wonder if I want to do this, but I think I'll pass.
I never considered it until they started poking out of my nose like my 80-year-old grandfathers used to. And I was
I
like, I
barely
am
even
not going to
have
be that woman. I'm
I
not going
barely
to be
even
her.
have leg hair. You know this.
Oh,
I
I
was like
do.
4 days into
You're like
not
a week
shaving, and
into the
you're like,
cruise.
and she's like, dude, like you
She's got
shave
like
every day?
nothing.
No, I don't shave at all. I
I
like nothing.
I'm so bad. I'm Italian to like the nth degree. It's so much
Yeah,
hair.
but you're gonna have your dark hair and everything like forever and your thick hair, and I'm already thinning. I'm gonna
I
have to get my
mean,
hair curled and set before long.
let's talk about my grays. But
Oh my
anyway,
gosh, I felt my age this week. Guys, I helped at a summer camp where I taught kids how to use sewing machines, and I was the oldest person helping in my class by like 10 years. I was older than the instructor by like 10 years, older than the next
it's all good.
TA by 20 years, and then older by all the students, as in they were like a little older than my kids or the same age as my kids, like 10 and 9.
Chantel and I have conversations about the plots of my books, and she's like, "Where do we fit into this?" I'm like, "Well, Chantel, we're just about old enough to be the parents and the
We're the
main
weird
characters."
ants. We are the weird ants.
Oh,
We are the kitchen staff.
yep,
We are the ancillary characters
yes, pretty
that
much.
have some wisdom, but not like that much wisdom.
Yeah,
I got you a good name though this week.
you did. You did. I'm gonna have to
Arion.
use that one in the first book
So everybody
for
needs to
sure.
look up this guy. Um, I'm putting his name in. He is the instructor for this class. It was called Patchwork and Flow. It's at the summer camp called the Sun Foundation's Art and Science in the Woods. And it is literally like everything you would want for your kids in a summer camp. It's not just crappy activities. It's like doctors and PhDs and artists and all of this come together and teach these courses. Like Angela is coming and staying at my house next year so that she can go to this camp. It is
Is there an age limit though? Because she's like aging out of
No,
everything.
it ages up to 18 and
Oh,
then
well,
you can
there we
become a
go.
TA.
You can have my child for a week. You go for it.
It is
Take her away from me.
honestly like John and I, we donate to a few things, but it's generally near and dear to our heart. We're like, when we get to that point, this is like the organization that would take the cake for us.
Yeah.
So, Ariane Boyd, he not only has a really cool name, but he's a fiber artist that does a lot of patchwork and quilting and applique and things like that. But it's so like
Carefree.
it's so
It's kind of how
free.
you
It's
described
like
him.
graffiti style.
Yeah.
It's light and it's like the kids. You tell them, hey, you get a bandana and a hat and a bag and a shirt to decorate. And they're all like, cool. Can you show me how to use this machine? And 3 minutes later, they're like
They're just
sewing
doing a
stuff on
thing.
there is no, I can't do this, or that is too hard, or maybe I'll do it wrong, or is there a better way to do this? They don't care about any of that.
Well, they don't know to be concerned about it, which
And
is
it
great.
is the most beautiful thing to see like these kids. Ariane was talking to somebody else, one of the students that was, don't want to say they were necessarily the more uptight student, but they were an older student. They're like, well, I don't really want to create clutter for myself. And
Right.
these are really wise children. I don't really want to create clutter for
I
myself.
don't understand that feeling.
Right. And and he's like, but in worrying about what you're creating, you're stopping yourself from creating and you've just lost the game, right? Because the whole point essentially in being an artist is to not be afraid to create for fear of creating something that's subpar, right? You have to make mistakes in order to create the masterpiece, aka my dress.
Yes, exactly. By the way, I'm old enough to where I had to go get myself a lumbar pillow
I
to
saw
sit
that.
in my ergonomic chair. I've been
That's
spending too much
lovely.
time. I've been spending too much time writing in bed is the problem. This is not a very good ergonomic solution, and my back is dying
We
because of it.
we need to get you one of those like Y2K style sit up in bed pillows with arms.
Something. Oh my God. I saw a um like one of those at Costco. Which, by the way, I feel like sometimes we need to read our text messages to each other on here. I sent her a lovely one today that said, every time I go to Costco with the children, I feel like I need a Xanax. And I very much felt that today with my children in Costco. It's like, oh my God, it's my mistake for doing it on a Friday or a Saturday. This is not a good time to bring the children to Costco. But
Meanwhile, I was on this like therapy, rampage of going to summer camp with children and seeing them create and all this stuff. I also learned that I know a lot more than I thought I knew about sewing, and I know a lot more about using a sewing machine than I ever thought. Everybody's like, I don't know how to use this machine. I'm like, oh, I got this. All you have to do is this,
she was
this,
like
this, this.
fixing machines
I mean, it's like
like all
fixing
week.
all these old machines that people brought. And I was like, well, we'll just leave them fixed for the next. It was a good
That's
time.
funny.
I was like, I have oil. I have this. I can fix the tension on your bobbin.
It
You
sounds like
know,
the week was like really freeing though, because when you work
it
with
was
kids,
super
especially,
therapeutic.
they just they don't know what they don't know and they don't know to be afraid of it.
Mm-mm.
Like I used to love to draw when I was a kid, loved it. And then at some point in grade school, I ran into um somebody who really could draw really well. And I was like, oh, I'm not that good at that. And then the second that thought came into my mind, I stopped drawing. Second it hit, I was like, oh, well, I'm not good at it. I'm not gonna do it. And so it just like takes a minute, I think.
Yeah, that was that was a lot of the therapy this week. Well, I wasn't working with my children.
That's probably really
So
good.
when you're working with other children and you're working with children that are motivated because they signed up for this class and they're excited to learn something and they're not dealing with their parent in particular, it was it was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
I liked it even better than last year. Last year I was in fiber
Well,
arts and they didn't have
last year
machines.
you were crocheting and you didn't
No,
know
we were
how.
knitting and
You
I
were
got kicked
knitting.
out.
Oh, I should have
I
given you a
did.
tutorial
I
beforehand. We should
was
have made a
told
dishcloth.
I was told that although they appreciated what I brought to the table, nothing, that maybe my services were better suited elsewhere.
That's funny.
And then I was basically voted off the island and told to go to this drawing class and clay class that would be better suited for me.
Well, that's funny.
It was a lot better suited for me. It keyed into a lot of the things that I did in anthropology and like the geological digs that I did and things like that in college. So it did make more sense for me than trying to knit and kids are asking for help. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I just
I
learned this
don't even know.
minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. You know, one time I was becoming a disgruntled journalist very early on in my career. And I don't think it takes very long to become a disgruntled journalist. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, no, I
And
don't think so. That's why I giggled.
and and I was wondering what the hell else am I going to do with myself for the rest of my life? Because this is what I'd prepared for. Like all like from the second I
Like,
graduated from high school, I was
it's
interning
true.
at my local newspaper, designing pages and writing really crappy stories with stupid puns. Like the second I graduated.
Well,
And
John was like, I'm pre-med, I'm going to be a doctor,
yeah, like
and
that's the
that's what he
thing.
was going to do. And you're like,
I'm
I'm
like,
in
I'm gonna go be a
journalism. I'm going to be
I'm
a
gonna be a
journalist. I'm going to
and
be,
I'm gonna make no money and but I'm going to change the world. And that was what I was thinking. And but I didn't understand what no money meant. Like I remember
yeah,
like getting my first job offer, I was given like 28,000 a year, and I thought that's awesome because I can surviving on $75 a week and that pays for all my tequila. And
right.
like
Because
this
you
is
have no children and no needs and things like that. Yeah.
car insurance, what's that? Like, these are things that you don't realize when your parents help you a lot with your
And then
college.
your taxes go away and you're like, oh,
They're like, oh, yeah, that's expensive. But anyway, so I was becoming disgruntled and I met with one of our professors
hmm.
and I was like, I think maybe I might want to go teach because that was one thing that I thought maybe I would go like teach English in high school or something. But then I decided I did not want to teach high school students. And I thought, well, maybe professor. And I was like, how like far ahead are you? She's like two chapters. I'm like, are you serious? You're teaching a course on this and you're only two chapters ahead of us.
Oh my gosh. I
And this is
live
like
for
a
that.
very well respected professor.
I
And I'm
can't wait
like,
to hear who it is after we're done.
I'll tell you.
Thank
You
you.
you like her too, I guarantee. You know her.
Oh, then I know her. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
With two
Hyphenated
last
last name.
names.
Yep.
Yeah.
We know what we're talking about. Oh, Alyssa Petrie's on here. I'm excited to travel with you too to Alaska. That'll be fun.
Nice. Oh, I'm so jealous. John has like
Hey,
every other week off and not the week of
speaking
the,
of
yes.
Petrie, I believe that John and Ray were bugging me because they thought that you had not signed up for, and maybe this has changed because this is old information, for the actual retreat at sea, which is separate from the cruise booking. So if that is the case and you've not done it, make sure you contact Ray and John because that is what gets you actually
I'm gonna
on the
type
boat.
that in.
So just an FYI. That's separate. You want to make sure you're on that. We are having an extra soy machine, so don't panic if you haven't done it because we'll be able to get on there and it's no big deal. Um, but yeah, she's on the cruise. You're on the cruise. There's no question about that. But the retreat at sea itself is basically like an onboard excursion. And so that's a different. You did sign up. You have the class sheet. Awesome. We're good. I know I was supposed to reach out for you and I totally blanked on that. So I just now that you're there, it reminded me. But anyway,
We have a few questions and things
we
back here
do.
and things that
Okay.
people have been doing. What do we want to
Okay.
go back to?
Dan
Oh,
is stuck in a piece in a quilt midway because the pattern looks like a ribbon. The blocks are not lining up. So I'm not sure the seams are off or we cut wrong. Um,
oh, I know what pattern. I think I know what pattern she's talking about. I don't know the details of it, but gosh, I wish they could send pictures and things like that through
I know
this.
that would be cool. Um,
Explain us to us more what's happening because
if you
sometimes
know,
it
if
looks
you
like it's
know,
not going to work, and then when you sew it together, it's
it
because of
does.
that quarter-inch seam and it
Yeah.
actually does work.
If you
So
know
many
the name
times
of the
I've stopped.
pattern,
Hmm.
why don't you Google the pattern name? And if you can find the name of the pattern
And
somewhere,
let us know
pop
too.
pop that in the chat. The link to the pattern, just anywhere you find it online, and that will help us be able to answer a little better.
We are
Um,
quilting experts, even though I am making a subpar dress, and we're laughing at the fact that my husband thinks that I need to go get alterations done on my dress that I made.
and tonight I'm staring at my iron, which is blinking red at me, even though I did intend to press some seams open today. But so here's what I did this week that's quilting related. I turned in my fourth book, everybody. It's officially going
Woohoo!
off to the printer on Monday. So that's very
Wait, the
exciting.
printer?
The printer, yeah. I
Do
turned
we
it
have
in.
a cover?
Oh yeah. I don't know where it is.
Are we allowed to show the cover?
Yeah, we can show the cover. Let me find the cover. Um,
Yes.
Actually, I have the latest version that I can pull up and show you guys. Let me find it.
Yes.
Um, Now there might still be some because I put in all my changes this morning and I've got it back, so I have to review to make sure that all the changes were made. Um,
Do
but
you have an acknowledgement at the beginning of your book? Because I found out 2 years
so
after John wrote his like dissertation for his master's degree, when he's graduating from like medical school, I'm looking through his dissertation as everybody's passing it around. I found out he wrote this like beautiful dedication to me and never actually told me.
I did write a dedication to Adam in the first one that I wrote. Um,
Oh, I just
it
think
was
that's so
it
cute.
was basically thanking him for never expecting me to do the laundry. Um, it's pretty much about what it was. Um,
Wow, and things have changed. You should have wrote, thank you for doing the laundry while you did,
well,
but
he's
things
back to doing the laundry. He's currently annoyed at me because I did not clean the kitchen today after you asked. He had a really hard week at work, which I did too, but I was not hauling thousands of packages every day, so, life. Um, all right, let me share my screen. Get
I
back to
can't
Zoom.
wait.
Um, so
We
my
get to see
plan
the cover,
tomorrow,
everyone.
my plan tomorrow is to not work on my romantasy book, which will be very challenging, and actually clean my house so I can get ready to go where I'm headed next week. So
Oh,
here's the
it's really
cover.
pretty.
It is the panel quilting workshop. We're going back to this because my book, The Fat Quarter Workshop, sold over 20,000 copies.
That was a really good
So
one,
yeah, it is written on in my bio that I'm a best-selling author, which apparently I am.
which I noticed
Um,
first.
she did. She texted me and she's like, dude, you're number one on Amazon. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I was number one for like months. And that book stayed in like the top 20 for years. It was
It's
insane.
still in the top like 30 or 40 or something
No,
like that.
it
Yes, it
fell,
is.
it fell way
Because
down. I
I
looked the other
always
day.
look, did you? Because I tend to look for, well, it might be under like patchwork or like quilting
I think it's down now.
specialties or things like that. But I always look in those like things that they're like, do you want to see the top 100 of this particular category? And I'm like, yes, I do. And you're usually up there.
Yeah,
You're not in
I don't
like
think I
the
am anymore.
tens or anymore,
Yeah, no.
but it's a good book.
So the whole thing, basically we did a YouTube video on like three different ways to use panels because we all buy them and then we don't know what the hell to do with them. And
It's
this is
true.
this is like
They're
the story
so
of your life.
pretty.
And so it's a ton of there's quilt patterns in there, there's bags, there's wall hangings, there's
Look at that
placemats.
duffel.
Yeah,
That
the
alone
duffel,
is worth
that's a
the
panel.
price.
That's a panel. And that is a like multi step situation. Like like the book is over 100 pages. It's so there's so much stuff and lots of full color diagrams and photos so that you know what you're doing.
I'm so
Um,
impressed.
I give people permission to cut up the panel and not use it as a whole thing. Like these pillows, they were not squares. They were large rectangles, and I cut it into a square and turned it into a pillow, and then I used coordinating yardage on the back to get that in there. Um, so I basically looked at all the different types of panels that quilt fabric manufacturers are putting out in the market, and I tried to come up with a project that would fit every single one of those. And there's lots of great tips at the beginning of the book that are like, if you bought a panel and you didn't buy anything to go with it, here's how you can match fabric to make that work. And here's how I shop when I'm looking for panels. It's like a really good shopping list of if you get these things when you see a panel you like, you're gonna have enough to be able to put together a quilt. So there's lots of really cool things in here. One thing that I'm super excited about, this unicorn quilt was designed by my daughter, Angela, when she was 8,
It's so cool.
and we
I
put it
have it
together.
too. I don't
Have
have
you
it
made it yet?
made, but
No,
I've
not
been
yet.
saving it for Hazel when she finally gets the itch to do it. I don't know if she's going to be my sewing kid though. I mean, she's into
You mean
drawing and
you
things like
did
that.
have a backup child, so
I
maybe,
know the backup
maybe then.
child is already into music and things. Oh my gosh. This is
So this
stunning.
this is the book so far. So we have there's the pillows, and then this is actually one of the first patterns I ever made. Is just a quilted placemat with a coordinated table runner. This is a project for a horizontal one, and all of the projects that involve standard size panels, like your vertical, your horizontal, or the new digital ones that are 36 inches wide, they have there's a pattern where if you want to make it exactly as it is, you're cool. You can do that. But I also explain how to take any 12-inch block and put it in there. So if you like this, but you do not want 9 patches, cool. Get any 12-inch finished block and it'll fit in there and it's fine. And I tell you how many you need and what you need to do with that. This is a tote bag, but it also works as a treat bag. This is a carry-on tote. The sizes are set so that it fits the TSA requirements. And you can't see it from this photo, but there is a luggage strap on the back because Chantel and I learned exactly how important that is when we
Yes,
were
we did.
traveling
And that is a
to London.
personal triumph that
That
we
is
managed
so
to
important.
overcome.
So important. These are a lot of times now, manufacturers are printing full on placemats. Like it's just a straight up placemat, like, 12 by
Yes, I
17 or
have some
something.
myself.
Yep. And so this just allows you, it's a no piecing required. You cut the sucker out, you put some interfacing in, and you sandwich it together, and you're good to go. And I created a whole tea party situation for this. I made these little meringue marshmallows, and these are little strawberries with a cheesecake filling, and then the little tea cakes. And I went to Goodwill and then a bunch of antique shops to create a mismatched vintage tea party setting for it so I could do the pictures. And then my sister was out that weekend, so we had a tea party in princess dresses with our girls. So that was really fun to do.
Did you have the dolls out?
I did not have the dolls out for that one.
Oh,
Um,
disappointed. Although
this
the
is
rest of your the way that you did that, I
it
mean,
was so fun. So
proud of
fun.
you.
And then this is just a wall hanging where you want the panel to be the art.
Which one
And
is
that
that?
was
What
This
number?
is 62. This is just a
62.
plain,
Okay.
yeah. So this is just a plain wall hanging, nothing fancy whatsoever. But I quilted the bejesus out of this one. This is a quilted playmat. So this is a 36-inch one. Again, no piecing. So if you've got a baby shower you need to get to, just go for it. You're good. This one is vertical, so it gives you the sizes you need for the borders to get it to where a 12-inch block will fit around it.
And all those outsides, they look like they're part of the panel, but those are
They
all
do, but
pieced stars and
they
blocks
are.
surrounding a central
It
panel,
is. And
right?
that's another one where, you can take the measurements, you can take your panel, you can add your borders to it, following the measurements I give you in here,
Hmm.
and then you can do any 12-inch block. So for here, it made sense to have the stars and the log cabins because of the theme of the panel, but maybe that's not fitting with your theme. You can do whatever you want with it. Um, this one is for a 36-inch panel, so one of the digitals. Again, giving you the measurements you need to take it to where it's a standard size where you can put a 12-inch block around it. This one is more fussy cutting, where if you have something that has like 10-inch squares in it, it's a pretty common size. You can do that. And then this one was super fun to do. This is one where you're going to cut your favorite pieces out of the panel and go for it.
Is that
Um,
104?
yeah, 104. So that one was super fun to do. And I love the way this book is looking, and it's got great shopping tips. So like here we've got like how to shop when you're buying for panels, and I literally give you a shopping list. Like here's what you want to get in order to make sure you have enough to work with it. Some tips on shopping by fabric line, making it scrappy. So like here's a panel I bought and I didn't buy any coordinates with it. I just got it at a show. And so I just did a poll for my stash, and I show you how you can use the color registrations on there to help find colors that'll work with it, which is really cool. And then
I
what do we
remember
got?
as a kid opening a cereal box and wondering why there were all those weird printed squares on the inside of the cereal box. And it's
Hmm.
just like fabric. It's them
Look at
printing
this.
out the colors so
Look
that
at
you
look at
can
how pretty this
understand.
is.
Oh my goodness.
I
She's
know. I
giving us
quilted
all
the
the good stuff. You did
bejesus
quilt the
out of that.
bejesus out of that.
Like I
Was that
wanted the
the
panel
last
to be
time you
art.
played with your quilting machine?
I mean, it's been a minute. Um,
I
I'm
love that.
and this is fun. So like I go
If I
from
had pillows in
quilting.
the fancy animal bathroom, that would be the one.
Yeah,
Down
but
one.
one of
Yeah.
them is in my kid's bed right now. But I go from like quilting the bejesus out of it with one like this to where the quilt is art to let's just do it straight line quilting on our home sewing machine and call it a day. And so it's all along the gamut because I really want it to be approachable to everyone. And I've not edited them yet, but I have filmed tutorials to go with all but one of these projects. Here's that treat bag. And this one was pretty easy to do too. But you can see there's a mix of photos plus diagrams. Everything's full color. Here's your carry-on tote. This one was so fun to do. And again,
I
I
feel like
quilted this in a grid. It was super easy. I did it on my home sewing machine.
who doesn't
And
want a duffel? They're so popular right now. Like you
I
go to
know,
QuiltCon and everything, and those patterns are selling
where
out
is
like
it?
crazy. They sell them for $15. You can get the entire book.
So here is the placemats where it's no piecing required. You can see it a little bit more. Let's look at my tea set. It's so fun. It's like all mismatched china.
You're
It's
just
like
so
shabby
excited
chic.
about it. I love it.
I I was this was like one of the first projects I had to turn in for like photography.
I
I went to
remember that.
Costco and I bought the napkins and I bought the little tulips. I was all in. I bought myself a whole new set of silverware so I could make this happen. It was the cutest thing and I had so much fun doing it.
You'll use it again though for other projects. You
Oh,
just
for
know
sure.
it.
And like this is a thing now too, where companies are coming out with like placemat of the month, and they're all sized to be the same. So you can then have double-sided placemats where you have 1 month is one and 1 month is the other, and you
Right,
can
like you
really
have
swap
your
that
4th of
out.
July and then you have your Halloween, or you have your Easter and your Christmas on one
Yep,
side. Like,
exactly. And like I show you how to work with it too. So like for example, when I got this fabric, I thought that these little animals were square, and when they came in, they were actually rectangles. They were vertical rectangles. So what I did, instead of having a 10-inch square that I could cut out, 10-inch finished square, I cut 5.5-inch squares and pieced them together. It was a little more work, but I got all my little fussy cut animals in there and they're all dead center and they look really cute.
and it's
So
super custom that way. And
well, it is, but it's just like, you
it's
order stuff
custom,
online.
but it's not like, you know, foundation paper piecing little animals. Like you get to the beautiful thing about a panel is you still get like the glory at the end of it, but you got to
Exactly.
skip some of the steps, right?
Exactly. And like, and that's the thing is people I think get panels and think I have to use it exactly as it is, and you really don't. It's your imagination is the only limit. And we've all ordered stuff online and got it, and we're like, well, that's not quite what I thought it was, but that doesn't mean you can't make it work for the project that you want. It just might take a little bit more fussing to do it. So this
And
was
if
really
you've
fun
already
too.
done some of the math, you know, or
This,
at
oh
least taught
yes,
us
the
how to
math
do
is
it.
already in there, so you're good there. This was my grandmother's Christmas china, so
Oh,
that was really fun to use with that.
I'm a sucker for Christmas china. I wish I had the room, but if
Oh, I
anybody had the
don't.
room, it should be me. And honestly,
This one was
I
fun to
just
do.
don't. That one was really cool.
I
I
love this
remember
one.
when you were doing that one and you
Oh,
were
this one
getting
was so
all,
fun.
how many thread colors do you think you put in that one?
I close to a dozen.
It was
This
so
one was
cool.
also really fun to do. Really, really fun to do.
I
And
don't
this one
remember
was
that
was
one.
challenging. I may not have shown you this one. This one was very challenging because you can see I was really styling these. My sister crocheted these, by the way. I have to point that out.
Those are crocheted? Oh my
Those are
gosh. You
crocheted
can't even
succulents.
tell.
I know, right? And but I was like styling the bejesus out of this. I love styling
Look at the
photos for
owl
quilting.
planter. I'm here
Love
for
it.
this.
Oh, that is totally some thrift store Etsy situation. And my grandma
Love
got
that.
me this. It was like one of the last things she got me before she died is this little thing. But I
Oh,
was like, I was getting specific flowers to go in and try and match it. Like
you
this is my
were.
this is my pothos plant. So like you can see I'm like styling this. This was like one of my favorite Etsy makers where I would get their plants and this was like some vintage. I don't even know what the hell it is, but it's fun. And like I got an amaryllis bulb and like grew it specifically to take this photo. And this one
Because
though
you
was a
took your own
challenge.
photography for the
I
book,
did. I
which
did
is
all my own
also very
photography.
impressive. It was
I've been
not sent
doing it a
into a
minute.
studio or anything like that.
Yeah, this is my dining room. But this one was a challenge because I was not doing it during the fall, and I really wanted to make sure that I could find some bittersweet, which is the type of flower that is on this fabric. But I was able to find one bittersweet fake flower in Hobby Lobby. And so these are all fake flowers. The rest of them are all real to go with it. Uh, this
Nice.
this is still sitting on my counter, even though it's very out of season, next to my nativity set that I still have not put away.
It's your seasonal counter.
I
It
need to do
invites
it.
all seasons to be a part.
So this one was really fun. This is a digital play mat or a digital panel, so it's 36 inches wide. For those of you guys who don't know, and I explain this in the book, traditionally, panels were always 24 inches wide because that was the limit in the width of the screen that you can do when you're doing traditional fabric screen printing.
Mhm.
That is not the case anymore. With digital printing technology, you can go 36 inches pretty easily. And so that's why you're now seeing panels that are 36 inches wide. So there's a quilt pattern that accommodates those, but then also it's really common to see baby stuff for that because you literally can quilt the damn thing and you got a baby shower gift. So this one was
Yes,
super
I have
fun.
one behind me actually
Yeah,
that is a panel, like a milestone type panel. And
exactly.
basically
You lay the baby
you
on it, you take a
quilt it.
picture, you're good.
Yes, you quilt it and
Find it, gift it, done.
right. And it can be as easy as some lines holding it together, or you could have, the sea being all swirly and things like that. And, you
Yeah.
could do whatever you want. You have pebbles in that one, for example.
I made it look like bubbles is what I was
Is
going
that
for.
Lily?
That's Lily. And I love staging photography for the books. So this is in their bedroom. And what you don't know is that there's a dog pee spot right over here that I had to go
You
around.
heard it here first,
I
folks.
ended up kneeling in the dang thing and I was like, oh, anyway. But I got like the little fish and the little stuffed animal and I ordered this costume and the wig and everything for her and I had her just sit there and I was very specific to make sure I wasn't like showing her face. I just wanted to show like the little kid playing and I was like shooting it from above and it was so fun and this will be like my little like time capsule of little Lily posing for my photography. So that was really fun. This is that
We almost
vertical
didn't
quilt
see
pattern.
that.
So this is where I give you the measurements in the book of, here's the panel. This is the size you're going to trim it to. We're going to add our borders, and here's the size of the border. And then any 12-inch block you want can go around that. This one, you do get all the math for doing a fade and the three different size triangles with the log cabins. And so that's all in there. So if you want to do it the way I did it, you can, and you can make that happen. This one shows you how to do it. Or today. Yes. So we also give you the math for if you want to make it bigger. So if you decide, okay, I want it square, we tell you how many blocks you need for that. And if you want it to be queen size, here's how many blocks you need for that too. So that way you can really just make it your own and make it work. Um, this one shows same thing for if it's horizontally orientated, here's how we make that work. And this one has a square finish to it. But again, I also give you the math to where you can make it twin size. So again, you don't have to worry too much about it and you can flip it around and do whatever you want with it. Here's a quilt math for if you have one of those 36-inch panels. So I tell you, okay, here's how we're gonna add borders to make it where we can put 12-inch blocks around it. And then you can have at it. And then I show you, okay, so you want to have it 36. Here's how much you need to add to make it bigger. And you can really make that your own. And then here's little Angela with her unicorn
Mm,
love quilt that she designed. And this was so fun. My children are behind this, holding the quilt up. So they're
You
always
know that, and
they're
it's
involved.
forever like,
I know,
yes.
right? So they managed to not kill each other for that one. And this one was so fun. I loved this fabric line. We sold out of it like 2 times in a row before we ran out and weren't able to do it.
I
And
never got any. It
I
was out of
I
stock.
hoarded it. I hoarded it for years. And then when I knew I was going to do this book, I was like, okay, I'm finally doing it. And so this just shows like these were all square owls that were like painted and then turned into a panel and then digitally printed so you can still see like all the details of the paint in it. And I cut them up and use them as block center, well, corners, but the focal point of the block and made it work. And it's so fun and so cute. And this one only had 3 coordinating fabrics to go with it. So I popped some black on it, called it a day, and it turned out stunning. It's my favorite
What did
quilt in
you
the
do
book.
for the border and the back? Did you use more of the coordinating fabric or did you play with something different?
No, I just did black, like straight
No,
black.
for the not the border, I'm sorry, for the
The binding,
binding.
that was extra fabric that I had from there.
That's cool.
So I did have enough to be able to do the binding in that one. But I talk about stuff like that too, like in the front of the book. Like, in this one, I only had 3 fabrics. So I wrote the pattern for 4 fabrics because it's easier, but that doesn't mean you have to stick with it. And like if we go up to this one, I bought every single fat quarter that was in the collection. And I had a lot of fabric left over, and I was fine with that. But then I had a lot of variety to use in the quilt. And with what was left over, I cut some up to do hexies, and then I gave the rest to my neighbor who loves stuff like that. And I was fine with that decision.
I
And
like the snowballs for a winter quilt. That's
yeah,
particularly clever.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. I sent this one to Chantel because originally I was gonna have the light be in the center of the snowball, but then we thought it looked cooler with the dark since the
It was
panel was
like
so
it's
dark.
as a snowball, it makes sense as white, but it looked way too stark against
Hmm.
everything else. But it
And
almost looks like an
everything
ornament or something like that.
everything white in my house gets destroyed, so this is more usable for
Yeah.
me. So
I
that is the
mean,
book.
that is parenthood and dog ownership.
Mostly dog ownership is the issue. I have 2 dogs that when they're gone, I will have a clean house again. And the third
Yeah,
one
like
can,
you won't have another dog 3 minutes later
I
that you're
feel
helping and fostering and
like I'm getting to the point in life where I'm like, I could totally do with less dogs. And
I don't
I don't
see
know
that for
how I
you.
got to that point, but I think I have. Look, Remy peed on my pillow within the last 2 weeks. So
Remy
I
is not the
feel
dog you
like,
chose. He was the dog you were given.
well, I mean, I willingly took him on. Are you ripping your dress apart?
Yes, I am.
Oh, Chantel.
Am I sewing my dress back together
Oh,
successfully?
goodness.
Maybe.
I
You
am
know,
glad
you should
there.
take that to get alterations.
Oh, goodness.
I am the alterations. I was like, I have this friend, Stephanie 2.0. No, that wasn't a good enough
All
answer. I
right,
think I've
let's
done
get
something
back
bad.
to the interwebs. All
Oh,
right,
to be fair, everybody was
I could
loving
not
what you were
I
showing.
could not see the comments while I was sharing my screen. So let's go back. We're gonna try and help Deanne. We're looking with Tied with a Bow by Charisse Nicole. Let's see if we can
It's a
copy
cute
that.
pattern.
Tied with a Bow quilt pattern. Lots of Tied with the Bows.
Yeah, I really did tear apart my dress while you were talking.
It's all good. But
I don't know how to
trying to get
deal with the
back
back, but if we can get the front a little like, I
together,
don't
that'll
know.
help. If you take like 2 inches off of that, that'll be fine.
we're gonna find out how we did here.
Can you spell Cherie for me? I can't look at it and type it in at the same time.
Yes, it is spelled.
S
Um,
S-H-E. I've got that. I remember that.
where am I? Okay, Shereece.
And last name?
Nicole. Nicole. My middle name.
I did not know that was your middle name.
Yes, for Nicholas, as in Santa.
Oh, how lovely.
Yes, that's how much of a Christmas baby I am.
Okay, so let's go back to the comments now that I'm seeing the pattern. Where do we go? I have too
What
many
did I
windows
do?
open. Okay, second piece of quilt, about midway through, pattern makes the ribbons. The blocks are not lining up. Okay, so how to figure that out is one, whenever you're piecing any kind of a triangle to a straight seam, it's not going to look like it lines up. So that could be it. The other thing to check is to just flip the block over. And you can take any ruler and line it up on that seam and see if your seam is a 1/4 inch or not. If it's not a 1/4 inch, then you didn't sew your seam right. Um, Either too small or too big, either of those things are going to be problems because at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
quilts are geometry. And if we don't have our math right in our cutting or our sewing or our pressing, then you're going to be messed up and it's not going to work right. So measure your seams first. And if they're all a good 1/4 inch seam, perfect. That's not your issue. Something else is. The next thing to check is your pressing. Are you maybe pressing some pleats in? This is one of the reasons why I like to press open because it's less likely to do that. Because if you have too big of a fold over on that fabric, that also can eat up some fabric and then things don't fit right. Because we think about, oh, it's just an eighth of an inch difference, no big deal, no problem. You take an eighth of an inch seam and you multiply that over enough seams to make a queen size quilt, nothing's going to fit together correctly the way you want it to. It just compounds over time. And then the last thing is take your measurements, cut or take your ruler, measure your original pieces, add back your 1/4 inch seam and see if you did it right. And one of those three things is going to be off if it's not working correctly. So it's a matter of figuring out which one of those things it is. And sometimes there are errors and patterns. Like when I was going through the book, I found out that we completely missed 6 very critical steps for one of the quilt designs. And I was like, oh, well, we need to get that back in there. And they're like, oh, yes, we do. We absolutely do. And so it's like
Yeah, that's not gonna work right.
mistakes happen. Or like, for example, the way I used to, like, there's specific style formats for when I'm working with my publisher versus when I'm putting out a pattern independently. And so I had changed all of my numbers to decimal points because that's the way they used to like it. They've changed their style and now they want it as fractions. And so in the process
Okay.
of changing it back to fractions, a number got left out here or there. And so I go through literally the entire book and my entire originals, and I'm going through it line by line by line, making sure every single thing matches. And so I literally spent an entire morning at the coffee shop with both printouts side by side, going through every single step, making sure it was correct before sending anything in. And so stuff happens like that. We do our
Right.
best.
You have a
There
a
are editors involved.
2.25 and you have to change it to 1/4 and you end up with 2 and 1/2,
Or like,
you know.
for example, like one of the measurements was like 1 7/8, and the one got left off and it just said 7/8. Well, if we're going to cut that to 7/8 in squares, nothing's going to fit together the way it's supposed to because something got screwed up. And
Exactly.
so there are editors, but we're also humans. Sometimes things get screwed up.
Hmm.
So that doesn't mean that that's the case with that pattern, but that can always be a possibility when you're looking at something.
I want to look that
Um,
one up to see if it's what I think it is.
Especially um, So I know that pattern testing is a big thing in the quilting world,
I do
and
a,
it's
a
a
number of pattern tests
it's a
myself.
great marketing tool. I will give you that. Amazing marketing tool. Is it the most accurate way of getting your patterns situated? Not at all. When I do it, I work with a tech editor who used to be an editor of a major quilting magazine. And so she goes through and she makes sure everything I have is mathematically accurate and makes sense when you're reading it. And I will not put out a pattern without her looking at it first, just will not do it. And, when even if I'm going to a book, I usually have her go over it first before it goes to a book editor, just to make sure I have everything ready to go before and a really clean pattern before I send it. Um, and that's an extra expense, but it's one that I feel is worth it because if you're going to buy a pattern from me and you're going to spend money on the fabric to go with it, and then you're going to cut all your pretty fabric, I don't want you to find out that you cut everything to 7/8 of an inch and it needed to be 1 7/8 of an inch. Like this is not a problem I want people to have. So it's always a step that I
Exactly.
take when I'm doing it. So
And
that's something to look at.
having a tech editor is really the correct way to do it. If you have pattern testers, it's much more of a marketing thing
For
than it
sure.
really is. Well, and you'll find things that are like, well, technically it should work with this measurement, but because of the salvage size or whatever, I wasn't able to get out this many squares. And so it might be in your best interest to
Yeah.
expand the size or something like that. Like you'll find things that are minor, but you should be using the tech editor for patterns and using quilt testers more for the marketing and
Hmm.
the visibility. And that's why I
So
like to do it because it's a direction to go into and it's a
it's
really
fun.
fun challenge for
Yeah.
me. So somebody gives me a pattern and they're like, make what you think this pattern is about.
Hmm.
It's super fun
You
because you're
like a
like,
direction because
I
then you
like
can
a
make it your own.
direction, but I like to make it my own. And when I have too much direction, it's like, well, I don't know what I feel like making.
Yeah.
So I really love doing a pattern test, but at the same time, I don't think everybody's as thorough as I am and is making sure that my
No.
measurements are correct and that everything's actually going according to plan. You just can't
Like,
guarantee that.
for example, I mean, you all know I've written quilting books. This is my fourth one that's coming out. But I've been dabbling in writing a romantasy trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And I
If you
shouldn't say
didn't know,
dabbling. I have been totally obsessed about writing a romantasy trilogy.
dabbling,
And I like
understatement.
I almost have 1,000 freaking pages. That's where I'm at this point with my
Not a
romantasy
thousand
situation.
words, not a
Pages,
thousand, you
pages.
know,
We are
it
close
is,
to
yeah.
um 360,000 words is where we're close to between the three books at this point. And I just keep going back and forth, farting around in them.
This is my guilty pleasure
Yes.
too, because the book reports have been keeping me alive.
I need to have a conversation with you actually afterwards because I need to discuss a plot point with you
Oh,
on
and
whether
so
I
when
not.
I brought up
I need to know how bitchy I can go with my character in a certain moment because, but that's not what we're going to
pretty,
talk about right now.
no, 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 no. But I will say that based on the character that you're talking about,
Yes. So
she
in this moment, she's very well justified to be bitchy, but she also wants to achieve a certain outcome. And
she
it's
has to
not
be
going to be able to
dignified.
be achieved if she is a total bitch. So that's kind of where we're at in this situation, but I'll talk to you about it later. I think
Mm.
I have a really amazing line for her to say, but I do not know that I want her to say it at that particular moment.
I
So
happen to be the like gatekeeper of some of this stuff. So I know a lot and
Angela has designed my cover, by the way.
ooh,
Yes.
so that's awesome. By the way,
She's like,
well,
I hear you talking to
my
Chantal about your book, and I think this is what you should do. And she's like, can I read it? I'm like, absolutely not.
no, no, no,
And
no, no.
she's
I
like,
mean, I
why
can make a
not?
copy for her.
And I'm like, when you're 18, you can read this book because there's adult situations and adult
Maybe
words.
17,
And her
maybe.
favorite word is the F word, and we're not going to talk about that right now. So, but
No.
anyway,
The
but
the Oh
Here's where I
yes,
was going with
DM is
that.
like, yes, I love romantasy. We do
But
too.
here's where I'm going with the whole storyline is that I can bounce ideas off of you. I have another friend who's legit reading the first book, even though I have like 5.5 chapters left to write, and I literally cut her off at like the worst, darkest moment in the entire book.
Wait, somebody's reading it and I'm not on top of this. I'm a
I have
little
sent you,
jealous.
I sent you the link like
I've
forever
been
ago,
teaching
Chantel.
camp. It's
This
been
is your
hard.
own, this is your own situation that
Yeah,
you
no,
can
no, no, no.
remedy
You
at
didn't
any
put the
time.
fire under me that said somebody else is reading it now
Oh,
too.
I was literally I was working from the bookshop. This is like, you know how you become friends with your kids' mom friends?
Yeah, you have to.
And like you just have to. But this one's cool.
But sometimes you don't become acquaintances with the people that your friend like your kids are
Yeah.
friends with. You kind of like relate to them and then
Oh yeah.
slowly you build a relationship and you're like, are we friends because of our kids or are we just like friends?
Oh no, we were
It's a
totally gonna
very
hang
weird thing.
out
Yeah.
without our children and do very
Yeah,
adult
on
things.
purpose. I have a friend
Like
like
on
that.
purpose. Yeah. And but anyway, so today we worked together. We both were working remote. And so we hung out at our favorite coffee shop slash bookstore. And I showed up with 250 pages and I plopped it down in front of her and I was like, I'm
Wait, so
sorry I'm
this
cutting
happened today?
today. And I was
I feel
like,
a little cheated on.
you know,
I
if you were in the Quad Cities, you could
I
come
was
hang with me
helping
too.
children.
You were. You could come down anytime, Chantel. There's a
I know,
little
I
kids
need to
area.
come down
It's fun.
anyways. I need alterations on my dress.
Poor Chantel. But anyway,
I
so,
just changed it. I got to rip it all out. It didn't work.
but I can talk to you. I can have my friend Sarah read it. It's
Mhm.
cool. It's awesome. But I'm still going to do an online writing school in the fall because it's one thing to get feedback from your friends. It's a total another thing to talk to people who have actually written best-selling books and who work
That's
for
true.
top five publishing editors who can
We
give me
can't hate on
guidance
that.
on like I'm having a really hard time writing when people are in their own heads and they're stuck in their room for 5 chapters. Like because they're,
Right. I
a
can't
hostage.
explain the setting again.
Yeah.
I can't say they look to the wall and there's this. Like you're in the same setting. So you really
Yeah.
have to have some sort,
It's the
you
same
have to
thing.
have a good grasp on
Yeah.
what's going on. That makes sense.
So, they have a lot of time by themselves. I'm not able to get them out of the room for a little bit. And, they're in their own head. And what are we thinking about when we're in that situation?
And
And
how do
how
we
do I
talk
keep that
about that?
interesting? How do I keep it interesting? And
Yes. And that is the question because
so,
I've read a good book that did not do a good job of triggering the ADHD brain
and
until
then you
all of a
switch
sudden it did
to
all
fourth
the
wing.
triggers. And then I switched to a book that is very good at summarizing in a chapter what needs to be said so that you want to move to the next chapter.
Exactly. Well, I'm like, I sat
There,
down with
I
her.
would not say that one book is necessarily so much better than the other. It's just that one
It
style of
moves.
writing
Yeah.
moved you down the creek in a current, and the other one was more like slow,
Rapids.
slow, slow, rapid,
Yeah.
slow,
Yeah.
slow, slow, rapid, and that feeds me differently.
Yeah. And I'm
So
having so much fun
I've got
messing around with
less than
stuff.
an hour left on Fourth Wing, by the way.
Oh, well.
I'm so close. I know.
You
I
need
fell asleep last week when we got off and I was listening to it and you'll never believe when I fell asleep. I literally fell asleep like 3 sentences before all the spicy bits happened. Like three
Oh,
sentences.
Chantel.
I'm like going back
She
and back and
she
back and
texts me the next day. I'm like, what happened? She's like, oh well, the dragons are doing their thing. And I'm like, oh my God, stop everything you're doing and read right now,
I was
Chantel.
like,
Right now.
I have a migraine. She's like,
You
this is
need to
like a
do it. I don't care.
medication
You
and
have to
read
do it.
situation. Like medicate and read.
I know. So
Okay,
important. Okay,
it was worth it.
if any of you guys listen to audiobooks while you sew, you have to get the graphic audio of the Empyrean series, Fourth Wing. They do it in a part one and a part two,
Hmm.
probably to make you spend more money. And then they also have it for Iron Flame, and part one is out for Onyx Storm. I have not started listening to part one of Onyx Storm yet because I'm not ready to have my heart be stomped on again. And I kind of want to wait until part two
I
is
don't
out.
know if I'm ready for Onyx Storm. Just knowing that Onyx Storm is still a book away. But it's like
So I feel like,
I was giving advice at a party last week about this because somehow after a couple hours of this party, naturally, I ended up upstairs with five children. I have three children, but I ended up upstairs with five children.
well, that's no fun.
No, but I was in the middle of a good book. And somebody's like, can't you just pull up your Kindle on your phone? Done. So after a couple glasses of wine and a few high noons, I'm sitting there reading Fourth Wing at a
I know, right?
party.
It's that good. I have read this 3 times and I only started in February. This is
Oh,
how
well, I
bad I am.
feel better that it was in February because I feel like it was in March and I'm feeling behind because
Yeah.
you ate
I ate them
Akatar
alive.
and Fourth Wing
Here's what happened.
alive.
I read Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm probably in a 2 week time span on Audible with the original versions, not the graphic audio one. And then I was in that, like, it broke my soul when I finished Onyx Storm. And I was like, I need something else to read. And so that's
He
how I ended up in
must die
ACOTAR.
or something. That must
He
be the
does not
Onyx
die.
Storm.
He does not die. Not die at all.
Does she die?
She does not die. But it will rip
Okay.
your heart out, Chantel. It will rip it right out of your chest. And you will be like,
I don't
Stephanie, I
know if
hate you for introducing
I
me to
just
this.
got out of this like wonderful summer camp where I was like enriching the lives of children and they were teaching me to be free and wonderful with my sewing and like failure is cool and just try
Here's the
stuff
deal.
and then you're like this book will rip your soul out and I'm like I'm
It
not
will.
ready for that kind of commitment.
You know what, Chantel? I
Hmm.
think the reason why I like it so much is because one, you're so invested in the characters that I want to know what happens next. Like the second the fourth book comes out, I'm like taking vacation and I'm gonna read the thing in one
That's
sitting.
how I
Like
felt
that's
about
what's
Harry
gonna
Potter. I
happen.
actually stopped Harry
Yes.
Potter early. I stopped it in the fifth book and I stopped reading for several years because I was getting so emotionally distraught over these characters and I knew that I would not be able to wait. Like I was going to be destructive if I had to
I
wait.
My body no longer knows that Zayden Ryerson is not a real person. I will sometimes
Well, we
see
know this.
I no, I will sometimes see some crazy ass theory on Facebook, a reel that I'm scrolling,
Hmm.
and I will get physical anxiety symptoms over a fictional character. And that's when I know a book is really good, is when that happens. And
I'm just not sure if I'm ready for the commitment of a book to do that to me. I really liked when my books were like, you're the problem. Here's how you fix it. You have too much clutter. You should do this.
so
You should believe in yourself because I read a lot of nonfiction and I really
I
liked
do
when
too.
it told me I was the problem. But now that I'm in other people's business,
I
I'm
used to
almost more
always
invested.
I would always alternate between a fiction and like a business book or a self-help or something for
Exactly.
years.
Yes.
Years I would go back and forth between the two. And but now I'm just like full on, I don't want to live in reality anymore. I just want to be other people's worlds at this point.
Plus, you read like half the business books that are worth reading at
I
this
mean,
point.
yeah. I mean, they all say the same thing at a certain
Me
point.
too.
And but I think I like it because I am in my first book, I am gonna rip everybody's hearts out and then we're gonna put them
You
back together.
are.
I am
And we
I
don't have to
literally
explain what that is,
I
but like
literally am ripping people's hearts out. Like I
you
totally
grow their hearts to another level, like the Grinch, and then you rip them
yes.
apart to be the original Grinch.
I ripped it out so much that I have not been able to go back and write the next chapter for a
It's
week.
true.
That's where I'm at. So I've been farting around in the second book, turning everything from third person to first because I need a break before I can go back because the next chapter is ripping the heart out of my other main character and I just can't rip both their hearts out. I need a little bit of break in between. It's not good. So,
Because
because
it rips
I have,
your heart out
it
a little
does, it
bit.
absolutely does. And it just, it's hard. And their hearts will get put back
But
together,
when you
but
don't
it's
want
going
to
to take a
dabble
little
in
bit.
too much reality, it's a good place to be. Like
It is so good.
we're all we're all dealing with things, you
I
know?
mean, basically, the world right now, not just our country, the world
Well,
is
especially the world.
is basically the books that we used to read in high school that were supposed to be like dystopian, not ever going to happen. And now it's all freaking happening all over the world. And I'm just like,
So we
well,
don't want
maybe.
dystopian anymore. That has
I
gone
don't
out
want to
of
think about
style
that.
because we're doing that right now.
We are doing it. I don't need to have my reality
We
match
read the
what I'm reading.
nonfiction that said what we can do for ourselves, and now we're like, we can't help the others.
I don't want
So
to read
let's
The Handmaid's Tale.
imagine.
I don't want to read 1985. I don't want to read
No,
anything by
84.
Ray Bradbury. Yeah, 1984. I don't want to read anything by Ray Bradbury. I want to
Mm-mm.
have a 20-year-old female main character that kicks ass and takes names and makes the world better. That's what I want in my books that I'm reading.
Mm-hmm. I think we can all relate to just
Okay,
wanting to fall into our head.
Deanne has a really fun question, and I have a really good answer. So, do you find that your characters take on a life of their own and sometimes different than what you originally intended? So, a year ago, on
They have
like,
growth.
we were literally traveling across the Atlantic Ocean on a plane for like 7 hours. I'm laying out this entire plot line to Chantal, and
She had this. She's
she
like,
was
I
having a
once
really
came up
hard
with a book
time
idea. I'm like, what
a
is this? Tell
trilogy, a
me.
whole ass trilogy. And so I'm telling her the whole thing. And originally there was going to be this evil prince who was they're going to be the big bad. And then I started plotting out the books.
With and then it kind of came into this brothers idea.
Well, I kind of wanted to, originally it was always going to be like the two, love interests over the course of three books and how we get there.
Right.
And I had told my husband about the story while we were like taking a walk one time. And he's like, why is this woman like pining after this man because he makes all these bad decisions and then she eventually like brings him back.
I
And I'm
love
like,
that.
why is she pining after him? Because he's a freaking mess. Like like she
Most
wouldn't.
valid thing, I mean, I love your husband,
Yeah,
but like one of the most valid things in that he's ever said. I'm
yeah.
sorry. He said a lot of
And
valid things, but
he
like
has.
when it came to your book,
Yeah.
that just like stopped you in your
It
tracks.
did. It absolutely did. And it totally changed everything that I was gonna do for like the third book for that one. And then um and then I had kind of figured out what I was going to do for a third book. And the prince was going to be the big bad, and the king was going to die like pretty early on and like midway through the book, and her father, by something that the prince did. And I had the scene all worked out. It was going to be this great battle where she like used this magic and shit, and it was going to be really cool. And then I start writing this prince. And I'm realizing I really kind of like this guy. I think he's fun. I want to give him a redemption arc. I want to have him be kind of misunderstood. Like he's trying in his own way to be
Almost like you
helpful.
misunderstood him to begin with as
Yeah,
your character.
like he's trying in his own way to be helpful to her, but he fails because he's an idiot, as men sometimes are. And
As a young prince would be.
he's not doing anything bad. He just doesn't really know how to communicate what he wants very well. And so he doesn't do it in a very good way and ends up totally pushing her away. And so I'm like, okay, he needs a redemption arc. We need to bring him back into the fold. So then I'm like, okay, well, who's going to be the big bad then if I can't have him be the big bad? And I was also talking to Chantel about it too, because originally there was going to be like a really dark plot line for the end of book two. And I was like, I don't think I can write that. I'm already
It
doing
was
something
it was too
absolutely
dark and
horrible.
triggering.
I'm like, I'm already doing something really horrible at the end of book one. I don't know that I can do it again in book two. And
And that becomes
and then I
your
blew up.
motif for every book at that point. She
I
just blew it up.
basically I blew up the entire like back half of it, and I decided, okay, this is going to be my new big bad, and we are going to have this one event carry through the events from first book all the way to the third. And I was able to
Hmm.
put in Easter eggs where we know like really subtly very early on what the true big bad is and where we're going with it and what our final big battle is
She,
going to be. I'm having so much
mhm.
fun with it. And like it's tiny little things that I changed. Like there was one line.
It's really important
Yeah.
to know that you did not just start page one book.
Yeah, no.
No,
This has been in my
your
head for
husband
20
is like,
years.
why are you doing the outline for three books at once? And she's like, because it's critical that the
It
Easter
is.
eggs from book one are drawn through to the ends of the
Like
book. Like it
there's
has to go to the ends of the world for this.
there's one line at the end of the first book where somebody says
Or
originally it was going
even
to be
make it
man.
up in some sort of,
Well, I think I can say it because, but this person says you
yeah.
can't have his baby. It was going to be their line originally. And then once I decided who the big bad was going to be and what their motivations were going to be, and that was going to carry through all the way to the third book, I went back and I changed you can't have his baby to you can't have this baby because that makes a big difference in
Hmm.
where what the motivations are and how it carries through to our very final battle
Yes.
scene and finally defeating our big bad. And it's one word.
And that's
It's one
literature.
tiny word.
That's
But if I would have written the first book and it had gotten published, and then I decided, well, shit, that's not going to work because,
right.
like, what am I going to do? So I probably will have all three of them written before
Well,
I
and
ever publish the first.
how many books have you read or movies in particular where
Where
they
there's
make a
plot lines.
prequel or a sequel and there are parts that are almost okay. So in my brain, I'm thinking right now about Monsters Incorporated, which is ridiculous, okay?
It's been a
They
minute
made
since I watched that one.
they made a prequel called Monsters University.
I have seen that one.
In Monsters Incorporated, they're like, you've been jealous of me since the fourth grade, buddy. In Monsters University, it shows that they meet in college. That has always bothered me.
These are the things that I try really hard not to do.
And that
Like
is the purpose of
I was writing
making an outline
today.
first.
I was screwing around with the second book today, and I wrote something where it was just like a one line where I was like, it's not an expectation. It's just when we turn 18, we have to go do this. And I was like,
Right.
no, she didn't go when she was 18. She was 19. So I have to change it when we come of age. And it's like, it's little crap like that that people who really
She
pay
made a
attention
calendar.
notice. I did make a calendar because like I needed to know
Things need to be seasonally
like
correct.
they need to be seasonally correct. There's a birthday that happens at a very specific time of year, and then there's something that needs to
There's
happen that requires
timelines.
specific development timelines. And not and that's spread over two books. And so I have to be able to have the birthdays line up. I have to have the start and end of a war line up. I have to have this specific development line up, both of when it stops and when it should have stopped. And it's just like I literally was going going through a count. It was insane. But
If we can relate this back to quilting in any way, I would say that in design school, we were required to make concepts for whatever it was that we were building or doing that were incredibly specific. And what it came down to is that you wanted your storyline for whatever you were building to be so specific that if you had a question of what should I do? What color should I use? in what situation should I use this material? It would all go back to the concept. And your concept should be specific enough that you're able to make that decision easily. And
Absolutely.
I think in a lot of times when we're making decisions on quilts, it's not just, will that color work? It can be more. It could be like, what
Hmm.
is the concept of what you're actually working with? Are you doing something that is supposed to be midnight themed? Like what would that mean? Or if you're into
Like that,
modern
like
quilting.
that store, that quilt I made, the vertical panel quilt, where
Hmm.
it had the moon panel. And so I had three different versions of star and log, sawtooth star and log cabins because it looked
Hmm.
really cool going around it. But if you had a vertical panel that was cars, that is not the block choice you would want to choose.
Absolutely not,
Not
because
at all. It doesn't make
it would
sense.
be a juxtaposition. It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so you
Which
always
is
go back to
why
your concept.
which is why I said you any 12-inch block will work. You don't have to go with these. If you want to make this awesome, cool. Here's everything you need to know to do it. But, one of my fellow authors within my book publisher is Sue Vogelin. She was the photographer. Well, no, she didn't photograph. She did the editing on my first book. She wrote two versions of Block Genius, and it has all the math for like dozens of quilt blocks. You want to make it
Hmm.
this size, here's where you cut everything to. And so you don't have to figure it
That's
out on your
awesome.
own. Yeah. And so I mentioned it a couple of times when I'm doing the intro to the
Hmm.
book or that particular pattern. As it's like you don't have to do the nine patch. You don't have to do the log cabin and the star. You can 100% like make it your own and you should. And that's kind of the
But
fun part.
if you're ever having questions about what the right answer is to do next, usually you've already made the answer in deciding what your theme is, your color story is,
Yeah.
things like that. So if you don't know what to do next, maybe you need to deepen your story, which is exactly what you're doing in literature right now.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
just deepening your story so you understand where the story has to go.
I've
So
been
in
all over the
design
place.
school,
All
it
over the place on that book.
literally came down to making a concept so clear. Like we would be given assignments where we would have to watch a movie and make a concept from that movie. And you would think that interior design would be as simple as picking colors or carpeting or things like that. But it really came down to even more than that, where it's like this movie, maybe it was filmed in a really angular way. Are you going to use a lot of curves, a lot of sensual elements? No, you're not going to do that. Maybe it was a graphic movie and it was overwhelming. You're not going to put it in a bright space. You know what I mean? So you can take
Hmm.
anything and make it into a quilt as long as you decide what your mood is. I think you have a good stepping stone for what it is. And for your book,
Hmm.
you've been like developing the concept of the book and then being able to make your decisions on that.
Well,
And
and
you've
it's
gone even
even
further to like
like
let that concept flow through book to book.
I am reading books on medieval fortresses and herbs that were used in pregnancy. And what
Did you
did
get your
midwives do
meeting?
back in the day? I did. I had a meeting with a doula because my character is pregnant in one of the books, and I wanted to know what would it be like back then and what would it be like to give birth and at the specific
And we
point
gotta
in
love people that know random things because they will
I
do almost
did.
anything for a cup
I
of coffee, as
literally
I would too.
so the coffee shop that I go to is basically like the bar cheers.
It is
Like
so
it
awesome.
is so awesome.
I'm
So
so
this
jealous. Maybe
this
somebody can
legit
alter my
happened.
dress.
This legit happened. I was driving over there to go work because I often work from this place. It's called the Atlas Collective in Moline, and it's half bookshop, half coffee shop. And I need to get out of my damn house sometimes. And
Immediately.
my office is there's rarely anybody there in my office, so this is a better place for me mentally to go work. And
Yes,
so,
totally.
and it's closer to my house too, so I'm getting more
And it
work
has
done during the day.
coffee.
Yeah, exactly. And now there's food. So that's awesome. I can stay there as
Your
long as
needs
my
are met.
exactly, as long as my battery
Decent
doesn't run in my
bathroom,
laptop, I'm good.
food,
Yep,
coffee,
all the things.
atmosphere,
So I go there and I get a
and
text
they're cool people.
From Stephanie B, Stephanie 2.0, who's on here sometimes, who used to work for me. She's like, "Hey, I'm hanging out with your friend Sarah." And I'm like, "How do you know Sarah?" And she's like, "I literally just met her at Atlas and she was picking up books." And Sarah is the mom friend I hang out with today, who's besties, her daughter's besties with my daughter. And I'm like, "Cool, I'm literally pulling up." And so we end up having like a 2 hour conversation with her, her doula, and Sarah, and I've never met the doula before. She's never met Sarah before. We're all becoming very fast friends as we're sitting here talking. And I'm like, "Hey, I'm literally writing a book where one of my characters gives birth in like medieval times with plumbing. So can I buy you coffee and you tell me all about that?" And so we talked for like an hour and a half. And I've seen her since at the coffee shop.
I love
And we
that.
gave each other a hug after. It was really cool. I was like, I
I
wrote the
am
scene.
so
It was so
jealous of your
fun.
coffee shop. You should be jealous of my summer camp, but I am so jealous of your coffee shop.
Literally, okay, literally last week, I sat with Steven, who runs drum corps and is moving to Texas, who I never knew before this. He also does ballet quad cities or used to. And then also, there's Jessica, who runs a fiber arts store, who goes there and knits in her free time. And it's just so like we're all just sitting at the coffee shop. We never knew each other before this place. It literally is like the set of Cheers or Friends. We just chill, do our work, and have fun conversations. So I'm glad you're having a good time, Deanne.
Yeah, I'm typing
But
that in.
but yeah, it's a really fun place to
I'm
go.
trying to type this in.
I'm actually teaching an English paper piecing thing there because their power there is not awesome. So
I'm
we can't like
jealous. I'm
bring in
your
sewing
girl for
machines.
English paper piecing.
I know. I was just like, "Hey, cool. I can teach this. We don't need to worry about power and bringing in sewing machines, and people don't need to know what the hell they're doing before they show up. It's just fine." And so
I'm so jealous of your coffee shop. It is
I know it's
literally like the
awesome.
Cheers
It
bar.
is literally awesome. And so this is where I spend the majority of my
So if you're
days.
not allowed to hang out at a bar and do work during the day, it's just frowned upon.
Unfortunately, no,
Shot the
would not be
tequila
good.
between your paperwork is just frowned upon.
I think my boss would, she did tell me to have a margarita in the middle of the day.
Okay, well, shots of tequila versus having a margarita. You were having a particular day
I
that
was
day
having a
when she's
very
like,
particular day that day. We're not going to talk
mm,
about it. Stephanie
no.
nearly
But
lost her mind that day. Um,
I got a call that day. That's how that
Chantel
day went.
almost literally almost had to bail me out of jail that day. Literally,
Oh my gosh.
she almost
I'm
was my
like,
one phone
girl, do
call.
you have my number memorized yet? Because you're gonna need this one day. I got the
I know, right?
beginning of yours. It's 224. But after that, I'm
I don't know.
screwed.
Yeah, I don't know yours either.
I have
But
my
I'm
mother-in-law's. That's who I'm calling if I ever go to jail, is my
if
mother-in-law.
here's the
Because she's the
problem.
only person that would answer.
This is my problem too. My husband is my emergency contact on everything.
He's
Does
not
he
a very
ever
good
answer a
emergency
phone?
contact.
No. I had
She
a
was
freaking
in
colonoscopy. And he did not want to sit in the waiting room because his back was sore. So he drives home because we're
his
five
job
minutes
was
from
to
the
answer
flipping
the phone.
office. That's all he had to do. Answer the damn phone. The nurse called 3 times and he didn't answer the damn phone. I called twice. He didn't answer the damn phone. I had to call my neighbor, who then had to go walk over to my house and tell him Stephanie needs to be picked up from the colonoscopy. Like, this is
Rennie
my
would have
husband.
gotten you.
He would
Your
have.
dog would have
He
answered the
would have
phone.
made a run for it and sat right by me and had physical contact
He,
with me the entire time.
he would have
That's what would have
peed
happened.
all over your husband and let him know that he was doing a poor job.
He would have
A
peed on his
piss
pillow.
poor job.
But anyway, so yes,
We're a
this is my
mess.
life.
It's
We are a
totally
mess.
fine.
But yeah, where were we
But we're
going
our
with our
mess.
conversation? We were talking about something, and now I've lost my train of thought
Hmm.
completely.
What were we talking about, people?
We were talking about being intentional in our design
Deanne,
choices.
what were we doing?
We were talking about being intentional in design choices. That's what we
Concept.
were doing.
And what it really came down to is with your book, and you
Yeah,
were meeting people at the coffee shop,
yeah.
and it's just it takes more
Oh,
than
this is
starting on
where I was
page
going to go
one
with
and
it.
ending on page, you know, 800.
This is where I was going to go with it. Is also like there's all kinds of structure for the way you can do things. Like when you're writing a book, there's a three-act structure, there's a traditional hero's journey, there is having a conversation with the doula to figure out what would birth have
Hmm.
actually looked like in that era. What sort of herbs would they have used? Um, what would a castle have looked like? But then you can do all that research and then you can think, I'm going to take that and I'm going to take some artistic license and I'm going to give them indoor plumbing because I want them to be able to draw a bath on their own.
Right, because we don't want to think about what that would have been like without indoor plumbing.
And I want them to have a thing called contraceptive tea, and I'm never going to say what the hell is in that because I want them to be able to get down without worrying about having a baby. And like,
There are liberties we are willing to take for
yes,
them, and some of them
exactly.
include
Yeah.
contraceptive tea. Nobody gets pregnant.
Yep. And like, this is also things that we can do in quilting too. Like we can take a pattern and we can see that it calls for 12 fat quarters and we can have a fat quarter bundle that has 24 and we can be like, I want to use all of these fabrics. And you're like, cool, I'm going to use half of each of those fat quarters and I'm going to get them all in the quilt and then I'm just going to have some extra left for our stash. And so those are the things too that you can do in your quilting
You can
where
make your own
once you
story.
once you know the rules, then you can break them.
There are some rules to follow,
Yeah.
and there are some rules to bend, and there are some rules that are just not even really relevant. Like when it's telling you how much fabric you need to use, and it's saying
Yeah.
you need to use half a yard of this and half a yard of that, that doesn't mean you can't use four fat quarters for
Yeah.
your half a yard.
Exactly. Exactly.
You
Do
can make
you
it
need to cut?
scrappy.
Do you need to cut, piece, and press accurately in order for your stuff to come out right? Yeah. But if you
Yeah.
do improv quilting, you can say, forget that. I'm going to do my own thing. And
And
so,
if
but
your corners don't end up where they're supposed to be, that was a design choice. That's the beautiful thing about improv.
yes, absolutely. And so those are things where you learn the rules, you follow the rules, and once you get the rules down, break them. Do your
It's
own
what our
thing.
children do. Why can't we do it?
I totally wrote a scene today where they were behaving like children in the way that they spoke with each other because they were trying to act like they freaking hated each other to get somebody
Oh,
off
it's
their
perfect.
trail.
It was like the back of your car
I
singing.
literally, I literally wrote it after my trip to Costco where I thought I needed a Xanax. And I was like, this sounds
She
exactly like
did.
my children.
So I haven't been getting my text messages in any sort of particular order this week because I've been out and away at this camp in the middle of nowhere. I get no service. And so I randomly get this text that's like, I may need a Xanax. My kids are,
No, it was literally like every time I take my children to Costco, I feel like I need a Xanax. That is
it's
legit what I
every Friday.
said.
You should stop taking them on Friday. What was it?
The problem is that we go over there on Friday for whatever, and the dogs need more dog food. You can see Remy right here.
I feel like I need a Xanax every time I take the kids to Costco.
Yes.
Touche, friend. I
And
feel the same.
I had to go today because we had a tire that needed to get filled up so that we could
Oh
drive
no,
to Wisconsin.
oh,
It's just a thing. And now I need all new tires and I don't want to talk about it. But anyway,
but we're gonna write it out.
we are gonna ride it out.
I'm gonna write some of that out.
But yeah, literally I'm like in Costco, sitting in the area with my children, trying to keep them
I
entertained.
hate that area. It smells so weird.
And like buy the food while they're fixing my I feel like I needed Xanax just to
And
go
the
into
kids,
Costco. I feel that.
yes.
I went the day before Super Bowl Sunday one time and I regretted my life choices significantly that day. Significantly.
I have no idea how you even go into Costco. I'm not even allowed to go into Costco. My husband doesn't even allow me to go into Costco because you know
I
what
do
happens when I
not.
go to Costco?
You buy all the things.
I buy all the things
All right,
because they're all very
Chantel,
useful.
you're gonna
I don't
need to
even know where my
entertain
card
them.
is.
You're gonna need to entertain them for a minute because I need to go hang out by Lenny for a moment, if you
Oh,
get my
I
drift.
know what the Lenny is, so it's
You know what that
totally
means.
fine.
I'll be right back.
I'll tell. Oh my gosh, your hair is looking good. She can't hear me though. I said
I
your
can
hair
hear
is
you.
looking good.
I washed it today for the first time in like a week and a half because I'm losing my mind. But anyway, you
Oh,
entertain them. I will be back
can
in a
I
moment.
show you what I got real quick?
Oh, your American
American
Girl
Girl.
Crocs. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not drunk, by the way. I'm on drink two in like 2 hours. This is
No, no,
just
no.
us
We're
being
just giddy. We
excited.
haven't talked to each
Yes.
other in a week. So this
Yeah.
week I was teaching, you're fine. This week I was teaching at a summer camp, and it's all, you know, the naturalist types and the scientific types and the artsy types, and they all seem to come together. And this summer camp is not like an overnight summer camp, but what they teach, they have people that have PhDs, that have art degrees, that are serious folks in the business, people that make me feel like I hope to aspire to be them one day. That is the kind of camp I was at this week. And it it was amazing. My son had an actual rocket scientist teaching his class so that he could learn how to launch rockets. My daughter had a professor that her job a couple of years ago and many years ago, up until a couple of years ago, I should say, her job was to travel to the Amazon and draw basically whatever she saw. So she would see different botanicals or creatures. I like to call them critters because I'm not so fond of them. Um, Plants, things like that. And her job was to document by drawing for the Field Museum in Chicago what she saw. Like the people that teach this particular, you know, art camp are beyond what you think you would run into in a normal day. I took a picture today with a snake. I don't like snakes. I would only take a picture with this gentleman with a snake because he is literally the reptile keeper at the Peoria Zoo. And I believe he's part of the Bradley University staff. And he's holding this particular snake that he says doesn't really like people and prefers to bite. But he's holding it in such a way, and he's like, it's not scary. It's fine. They're commonly made for bags and stuff like that. And I mean, these people can literally talk you off a ledge and make you believe anything. It was the most incredible experience. But I think the most freeing part of my experience is that, as much as I would like to teach a class there in sewing and quilting, I think that Ariane Boyd, the guy that was teaching the class, is so much more qualified than I am because he has a freedom to his sewing and quilting that I have lost, right? So when we're talking about sewing and quilting, we're so often talking about precision and getting those perfect seams and that perfect color match, and everything has to be perfect, right? And so much of what they were able to do at this camp, it had nothing to do with precision. So I was talking a bit about the camp or whatever and
Yes.
how incredible these people are.
I was
But
just like she was telling me about it. I'm like, this just sounds like really freeing for you because I know a lot of
oh, it
times you
was
feel like you have to do it the right way and it has to be this, that, and
mm-hmm,
the other thing. And kids are great because they don't know what they don't know. They
gosh.
don't know that this really sucks, but I had fun creating it, and that's the point of it. You know?
They're like, I could do this better
Yeah,
next time. And then they do it
exactly.
better next time. There's none of this, like, I should have done it perfect the first time mentality. And so, as much as I would love to be the professor, I'd love to be the instructor of patchwork and flow or something. Ariane was a great, great instructor for this class because he hasn't lost that childlike
Hmm.
ability to just like go with it, right?
Exactly.
Making for the sake of making is not a loss. You didn't make something negative because you made something you didn't like, right? Like if you made something you didn't like, it was a learning experience. And so it was still a step up.
So for me, whenever I would create, especially quilting designs, but now even like with writing, like today I was trying to write email copy and I was struggling. And I had put it through ChatGPT and that wasn't helping much either. in what I needed to go. And so, and this is how I'd be with quilt designs too. I would take a look at the fabric I was going to work with,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would do nothing with it for 1 to 2 days. Not one thing. And I would let it percolate,
Mm-hmm.
and then it
You'd
would
let
come
it
to me.
flow, essentially.
It would come to me, and I would be like, this is the way to use the fabric. This is the way to let all the parts shine, whether we're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with the colors or the color value or
Right.
the design and
You
allowing the
did
design to
everything in a
shine.
month, less
Oh,
than a
yeah.
month before.
But I always looked at it and then I took at least 24 hours before I even thought about doing a quilt design with it. And I
True.
usually had a week from the point when I had my fabric to when that quilt was done, out, published. And I still always took that time because I needed to look at it and I needed to do something completely different. And my brain, my subconscious would work on it. And there were many times I like some of my best-selling patterns were
We're
when
the
I had
middle of the night
insomnia.
ones.
Yeah, I had horrible insomnia for years. And my best-selling quilt patterns were ones that I designed at like 3 in the morning because I woke up and I was like, that's it. That's the quilt. And because my brain was just working on it at that point. And even today, as I was doing that, I was struggling with writing this email copy. And like we just talked about how I literally have almost written 1,000 freaking pages of a romantasy novel with a story and characters that I had made up from scratch and am so emotionally invested in that I had to like set it down and move on to something else in
You
the
had to give it a
story.
timeout.
Yeah, I did have to give it a timeout because I am like literally like damaging my own mental
She's
health writing
hurting.
this stupid thing. And so I'm like working on this email
I
copy.
love
It's
that.
not working. I don't love it. I'm like, this is not getting across what I need it to be. And so I went and I sat down and I started turning some stuff from third person into first person. And I was screwing around with that. And I did that for about 20 minutes. And then I was like, I know what I need to write for this email copy. And it flowed through. It was great. I'm sure it'll be effective. We're good to go. And it's like
It's like it needed to
sometimes
percolate. It's like
it did.
coffee. It just had to run the hot water through the filter
Yeah.
of coffee to make the coffee. It wasn't
Yeah.
ready when it was ground. It wasn't ready when it was water, but you let them mesh,
You
you got
cannot
coffee.
create on a schedule.
No.
You cannot do it.
But you also can't create without creating.
Yeah.
And I think that was the big thing I learned this week is that I've learned to let it percolate, but I've settled on that. Like I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. I'm planning it. I'm designing it. You can come up with
Hmm.
whatever word you want to call it for what it is you're doing, but really you're procrastinating, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Procrastinating. You're procrastinating with your craft. Like you're not coming up
Chantel
with the solution.
literally messaged me and I was like, I have all my book edits done, but I have to turn it into a Word doc. And she's like, what are you waiting for? I'm like, motivation, alcohol. I don't know.
Yeah, I was
It's
like, well,
like,
I don't know. I reckon yeah.
it's like,
It
I'm
was
just,
the thing that needed to be asked.
yeah.
Okay. It
I
was
mean, it's like, it's literally all done. I just need to get it to the editor. She's like, why are you not doing this? I'm like,
I don't know.
I
I don't
don't
know,
have a really good answer for
procrastinating.
you. But just like,
So good.
and it's not like I didn't like sit down. Like
I'm
I
usually the
remember
one that has this problem.
it like I
It's
remember
not you, it's usually
very
me.
well when I was designing a pattern for Stash with Stephanie one time. And my kid was on some sort of break from school because there's always some break
Hmm.
from school. So we were working from the kids
Always.
area of the downtown Rock Island Library because it's great. It's contained. There's one entrance in and out, so I can make sure they don't skedaddle out somewhere.
You're like, you form
You do
a missive
whatever you
over
want to
there
do.
and you do what you do.
I'm gonna sit right here with my eye on the door so I know you haven't escaped, and I'm gonna work while you do whatever it is you need to do.
It's
And
like you put your
so
dog into the dog park and shut the gate,
basically,
you
basically
know?
this is what's going on. And so I knew I had to design a quilt while I was sitting there, and I had let it percolate. I had the fabric sitting there next to me in the little kids area where I'm sitting on the comfy couch, and I'm looking at it and I'm designing, and I did a couple of different things. I remember in this particular one, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I have accidentally designed a swastika in the negative space. We cannot do that. And
Whoops, never mind.
and I really liked the design, but then I looked at it and I was like, oh no, we can't do.
No, that's not the right
And so
one.
then I'm screwing around and moving stuff around, and I'm like sending stuff off to the members of my team, like, oh yeah, this one for sure. And,
That is a common quilting issue, by the way. Just
yeah,
the rotating way that
yeah,
blocks
it
are.
happens sometimes.
Sometimes things turn into motifs that you don't want them to look like.
And I was like, oh yeah, no, we can't do that. And that, like, it was a really cool design, but then when I you like look back at it, I'm like, oh gosh. But it's like, I don't know, it's
It was
hard
a
because
step.
like I knew I was gonna go there and I was gonna design the stash with Stephanie quilt, but I had like thought about it for a couple of days ahead of time. I
Hmm.
kind of knew what I was doing, what I wanted to do with the quilt. And that was always, I love being led by the fabric. Love it because
In the
you
same
are,
way, I love being led by a quilt test.
yeah.
When somebody gives me a pattern and I'm allowed to take what I have, it
I go the
feels
other
good
way
to be
too.
led in a direction.
I go the other way too. I don't do it as much anymore because it's kind of a pain in the butt. But um I used to be on a list where I would get sent,
Hmm.
here's what's coming out, and do you have any patterns that work with it? And I don't do it
Oh,
as much anymore
yeah,
because it's like several hours worth of work for maybe getting
a little
$50
bit of
worth of
airtime.
pattern
Yeah,
orders a year from now. And so I don't really mess with it anymore because I'm not at the baby designer stage where I need to do that. And
right.
um but so I'll go both ways with that. But I really love like taking a look at, what scale are my prints? What color value are my prints? What
And you're the queen of that.
combination, what combination do I have? Are we thirds all the way across in terms of light,
Hmm.
medium, and dark? Do we have a light medium? Do we have a like me true medium? And that like where are we at in that? And how do I make that play up as best we can? And that was always really fun for me in order to make that work. Really, really fun. Um,
But idea generating for you was,
I would look
it's
at that
not
fabric
always,
wheel.
yeah.
I would always look at that fabric wheel and I was like, okay, what do I got? What am I working with this month? How can I make it work?
And I felt really, and this is why you keep on saying it's probably been very therapeutic for you because I felt very like stuck in the gears lately with this precision versus wanting to be artistic, right?
Hmm.
Because with quilting being such a sense of geometry, right?
It really
There
is.
are there are rules and laws, and there are people, there are the quilt police out there telling you
You know
this
what
and
I
that
think
and
of
the
the
other
quilt
thing. And
police?
as much as you want to
Nothing
defund the
good.
quilt police, as much as you want to defund them, it doesn't always give you the freedom to become a looter, okay? And just steal ideas and be free and,
Yeah.
do
At the
whatever
end of the
you
day,
want. And
we do need a flat quilt.
right.
Yeah.
And so there are rules to follow, as we said. If you know the rules, you know what you can bend, you know what you can
Hmm.
fudge, which is a favorite thing of yours,
I
and you know
love
what you
fudging.
can break.
Absolutely. I know that if I'm
You can
within a quarter
fudge
inch, I
something.
can fudge that. No problem.
It's
No
like
problem.
cooking for her. She's like, it's almost a full cup. We just shake it a little bit and put it in there, and
I was
that's
showing you
that's
how
good
to
enough.
properly measure flour. That was not the
She's
fudging of
like,
the flour.
okay. That is me like properly
I'm like
topping
your
the
baking
flour.
Sherpa is what I am. I feel like
I have to
that's who
show
I
you
am.
what the kids made for me today. So I definitely had some therapeutic breakthroughs this week. I went from being my normal uptight me English paper piecing perfection
Oh yeah, I know how you are,
to
especially your futzy
giving my
cutting.
kids.
Allison
I
Glass.
gave
She gave them Allison Glass fabric to do
I
whatever the
gave
hell
them
they wanted with.
so much good fabric, and oh my God, they ate it alive and they loved it. They I did give them Allison Glass, like old, like 10-year-old Allison Glass.
Did you
And
cry a little
Liv's
inside?
Elliot.
Did you cry a little?
When it was used as scrap, it burned, but it also was a little bit like burning your bra. I need my bra, but I don't need my bra, right? Like,
Well,
but
I
I
got a
need
little
it,
bit bigger
but I
girlies
don't
than
need
you.
it.
I definitely need my bra.
True.
Granted, I'm
I
on the
would say
internet every Friday without one, but
I
in my
have
granny
to show
Walmart
you.
moo I
Oh, it's so hot.
Friday night sew-in brought to you by Walmart moo and High Noon
Oh my gosh. Thank you,
and
Walmart.
free
As much as
free
I
boobies.
don't want you to be our sponsor,
No,
unfortunately, us Midwest women can't help ourselves. We
I
are tethered to your
enjoy a
needs.
good moo. I enjoy a good moo. I'm just gonna
Oh,
say
so good. I mean, you're bringing the moo
they
up to
have the
Momo.
best.
Mm,
They have the best for sure. My mom bought me a moo for Christmas. It was hilarious. It was awesome.
that is great.
It's so hot though. I can only wear it in
Maybe
the
I'll
winter.
give you mine. You can use it as a moo for all
It
I
might,
know.
it
Um,
probably will fit me perfectly, is what's going to happen.
I should
I'm
show
on the
you what the
anxiety
kids
diet.
made me.
Show me what the kids
Yeah,
made,
that's a
and then
great
I'll
one.
tell you about my anxiety diet.
So by the end of the week, they've had several days to play with things. I gave them a whole jean jacket and they said, all of y'all, I want this to be epic. And I said, by the way, I'm not Arion. I don't want it to be brown. I don't want it to be black. I want it to be like neon is my neutral. And the kids are like, huh, we got that. So let me grab what they made. And they were so proud of themselves because everybody basically just threw their paint on my jacket.
So if you
Um,
ever get the opportunity to meet Kay Fassett, Chantel, you should
oh
take
yeah.
it because
Oh, I have a signed book of his by
he
accident.
considers hot pink to be a neutral.
Oh, it
And that
is.
was the
It
very first
is.
time I actually got to meet him. I should share this story sometime. But I got to meet him in person for the first time in Philadelphia. And it was an amazing interview with him. And that was the
Look what
very
my
first time
kids
I was
made me.
involved in. Oh my gosh, that's so fun. You can never wash it,
Look.
but that's awesome.
Mm, I know. But can you see it? Is it
Yeah,
having
it's
one of
like
those
paint
moments where
splatter
it's being,
everywhere. I mean,
hold
it's having a
on, let
moment,
me
but
turn
we
off
can see
center
most of it.
stage. Let's see there.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Never wear it in the
They
rain,
made
never
that for
wash it.
me. I know it's acrylic, so I need to heat set it. I had one kid completely like knit me a pocket square. He's like, I want to be part of this. I was like, go for it, kid.
That's so fun.
You got this. They started with C's for Chantel on there.
Yeah.
You can barely see them. And then slowly this became the bucket for where everybody poured their paint splatter like mess from,
Yeah.
like the water that they use or whatever. And then we had one girl that was just like, I want to play splatter painting. And just started whipping paint at it,
It
which I
looks
was
so
totally
cool.
down with. I turned out great, right? Like
It
it's
looks
so
really cool.
me. And I am completely here for it. I was so proud of them. And it's funny because it was like I've held on to this jacket for a year, not knowing what to do with it because I couldn't come up with an idea that seemed adequate for a jacket that fit me so well, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a really good fit. I've even bleached it a couple times, like tried to do bleach dye on it on the back,
Hmm.
and you really can't tell now. But it's the same as my white jacket that I
Hmm.
have all my applique and everything on. It's a really good fit for me. It's loose, but it's comfortable. And so I always had these big dreams for it. So it was a big deal for me to let go and be like, kids,
Have fun.
here's this jacket that I absolutely love. Brought to you by Walmart, nonetheless, actually, if you can believe that.
Mine is a
Here's this
Talbot.
jacket.
I'm a little fancier than you, apparently.
This was a random find at Walmart. It was like it's weirdly petite in the length, but it's very good in the sleeves. So I don't know. It just worked out. It was like, I love the way this thing fits. Here, children, go at it. and they went at it and they decided paint was the best way to go for it. And I have to admit, there's maybe a little more purple than I like, but I'm not going to give them
Yeah,
any
you
hate
are
because they
not
totally
you're
nailed
not a
it.
purple person. I think you still have my box of purple. I'm like looking at my empty section of
I
my
do
things.
have your box of purple.
We'll have to get that
I
at
mean,
some
to be
point.
fair, you were supposed to help me with my closet, which that is also a funny
That is
story that
still
I
gonna
lost
happen.
something. I lost
Did you
something about
ever
2 weeks
locate it?
ago.
She lost
No,
her foot
my
for a sewing
my
machine,
foot for one of the sewing machines that I brought to camp,
her foot pedal.
and I never found it. But you know what is almost clean? My closet.
Oh, so now you don't need me. I still think we should lock
No,
ourselves
I
in there.
always need you because I need to get my depression glass up into my cabinetry and not have it living in my closet.
Okay,
And I,
so we
you know
still are
what is
gonna lock
living in
ourselves
here?
somewhere with some
Yeah.
beverages, and
So
we're gonna name some things and clean up your closet.
I have a funny story about this. I took Gwendolyn on a video tour, and Gwendolyn's been on here a number of times. So I took
Hmm.
Gwendolyn on a video tour of my closet. And the first thing she sees is my childhood television that is white with a built-in VCR. And she's like, "You still have one of those things?" Yes, I do. She's like, "What is your plan with that?"
Do you
Well,
have
it was
one?
kind of sentimental until you kind of pointed out how ridiculous it was.
That's
And
funny.
she's like, "Why?"
You know what?
I was
This
like,
is what we're gonna
"Here's the
do.
funny thing. I had a VHS of Harry Potter sitting over here." I was like, "Well, what if I want to
I have a
watch this one
VHS.
VHS?"
I have a VHS of my senior year piano recital where I had to have 45 minutes of memorized classical music.
Oh, well, I got you,
We can
girl.
watch it
I got
while we're
you.
organizing crap and naming things in my book.
I
Uh,
got you
and drinking adult
because
beverages.
I have a VHS player on a 13-inch screen with at
We're good.
least 20 inches of TV sticking out
We
behind
can
it.
we can hear how good I used to be. It'll be awesome.
I can't wait because that is clearly what I'm going to tell Gwendolyn when I get a chance to talk to her
That's what
and
your
let her
plan is.
know that TV had a lot of purpose because there are people with VHS that need to
I
see
have
those
one.
things.
I have one still. I don't know. I don't know
I
where it
can't
is.
get rid of it. So the whole
You
story
know what I
behind
also
this one
have?
TV, yeah,
Oh, go
what
ahead.
is it?
I
I
have
was
the
just going to
first
say
three
this
book.
TV,
Oh, you go. Never mind.
this TV was a surprise birthday gift. My birthday's on Christmas. It was definitely not Christmas. I came home one day and my grandmother and my mother threw me a surprise birthday party. It was not my birthday. They just wanted to buy me a television. So I had my own because we never had a television in our house. My mother was a book reader, an avid book reader. And so we had a television, but it was black and white. Mind you, this is like 1997, guys.
We're
I had a
beyond the
black
black
and
and
white
white.
television in 1997. I'm watching the Power Rangers not knowing which Ranger is which.
I wanted to marry
Okay.
the Red Ranger, and I now follow the Red
I
Ranger
don't
on
know which one
TikTok,
I wanted to
and
marry. It could have
I'm
been the
still
pink
in love with
one
him.
because they all looked the same.
I'm still in love with the Red Ranger. I just want to say you should follow him, Red Ranger Mike on TikTok. It's very, very good. He is he is still
I
as lovely now as he was when I was in fifth grade and thought he was gorgeous.
You wonder why I only work in color. It's because I had a TV that was I only had a TV in gray. This is why I'm so obsessed with color now because I can't handle myself. I the only television in the entire house was black and white.
You want to know what the first thing I ever wrote was?
Hmm.
Power Ranger scripts. They would have things like, then they fight for 30 minutes.
You know what? That is what I'm putting in your book when I censor it for you. And then they kiss for 30 minutes.
Oh my God. One scene is
And then
literally
they
a
look each
2,000
other
word situation.
intensely for 20 minutes. Page on.
Oh goodness.
You should
So the
tell them what I'm
one,
doing for your book.
Okay, so Chantel someday, whenever this gets published so that my parents can read it, is going to censor it so that the spicy scenes have new pages over it that say they're kissing here. They're still
Like big
kissing.
post-its, you know?
Don't you worry, they're still just kissing. And I want to say when I like it's romantasy, there's spice, but I am very thoughtful and I actually pull back stuff to where if I'm going to put something in, there's going to be a plot purpose for it.
Right.
And
It's
I'm
not
gonna
spicy
be,
for the sake of like wondering how much spice people can take. It's
I
like
mean,
not like a bad batch of chili.
you know what's happening. There's very little that's left to the imagination. It's not like they closed the door and, a baby
And the
happened nine
next
months later.
day,
Like, that's not what it is, but there's a
right?
purpose for it. And I have purposely like pulled stuff out. And I'm like, no, we can't have something here. Like we just need to imply it here. Um,
I
but
was
like
pretty sure
I
for a while after hearing about all these scenes that this is all the book was about, but it wasn't. She was just
that's
working
what
on these scenes.
my husband thinks it is still. And I'm like, literally, Adam, we are at like almost 140,000 words and there's like three scenes, four scenes
At
in this
least
entire book.
better than my husband, who thinks I should go get alterations on the dress that I made for myself.
I mean, this is true. Literally, my husband is like,
Together, they are a great pair.
they're like, our children go to Catholic school. What if you actually get famous for this and they know you write smut? And I'm like, Adam, it's not smut. Like, there's
They're not going
some
to worry.
spicy
I can pay
scenes.
for tuition.
Exactly right. I can make them a donation. It'll be fine. Well, have him go read the story of
That's funny.
Bathsheba and what David did, and it'll be just fine.
There are some spicy scenes in the Bible. We won't get on with that.
Oh, right?
There's a lot of things.
There's
So,
a few things.
but
Song of Psalms. I mean, come on. We're not
it's
teaching
true.
that in fifth grade religion.
Although there were some things taught this year about husbands being
Oh my
trained
God.
that were
I
hilarious.
lost my mind. Lost my mind. CC'd the principal. So my
So good.
teacher, my kids, my fifth grader, they were doing different classes,
The
and one of them was,
5-year-olds coming home with ideas of you having a boyfriend and
oh my God.
and
Oh, so
talking.
my
But meanwhile,
my 5-year-old was telling stories that I had a boyfriend and was pregnant. And I was like, so I didn't have a conversation with her teacher on a seat meant for a 4-year-old that no, that was not accurate. But anyway, the funny thing,
meanwhile,
my fifth grader's teacher, who's been married for less than 6 months, we have to put that out there, less than 6 months, is having a conversation with them about marriage and the Bible. And she makes a comment that it took her 3, 4, whatever many years to train her husband. And I lost my flipping mind. And
train them because she comes home saying that she said
she's
that she
telling
could
me
train her
about this.
husband.
And I'm like, and no, she was indignant about it because I have trained that child right. And she was like, Mrs. So and so said this today. And I was like, oh, no, she did not. So I
Oh,
email her and I CC the principal. And I'm like, first of all, in today's age where we are talking about mental load and sharing of the household duties, this is absolutely unacceptable because husbands need to be equal partners
yeah.
and they need to be able to discern that something needs to be done and I need to be able to do it without being told to do it. Like,
Well,
number one.
that and your
And,
partner is not your dog. You don't
and
train them,
yes,
they don't train you.
and two, I'm like, every I am 40. I have two friends who are still married to their original husband. Two. And everybody else, Chantel's one, everybody else who has gotten divorced is because their husband is not a fully functional adult. They had to be told to do ABC. They were not able to do things on their own. They had to be trained. And when those people then remarried and had good relationships, it's because they found a man who was a fully functional adult. And now they are happy.
Both
And to
people in the
teach
relationship were adults in that
exactly,
scenario.
and to teach fifth graders, that it is the wife's job to train the husband, sets up the
Mm.
relationship
Nope.
to where
Nope. Nope.
the
Nope.
a 10 and 11
She's
year old boy
responsible.
is basically being told that you do not have to be an equal partner in the relationship. Your wife will take care of the shit for you. And that is setting them up for failure. And it is a horrible expectation to set. And it just allows them to continue the cycle that women are trying to break right now. And it is setting them up for a failed marriage. And immediately backtracked and was like, that's not how I meant it. I was like, well, it doesn't freaking matter. You talk to 11-year-olds about training husbands.
You can't go
Don't
back
do it.
about Santa
You
Claus. You can't go
cannot do
back
that.
about this.
So then she told them that she was just joking on Monday. But I'm just like, this is ridiculous. You cannot do
Mm.
this. This is not what we need to be perpetuating. I don't give a shit that it's Catholic school and we have more traditional concepts of whatever. This is not what I want my daughters to be hearing in school.
You're
Period.
gonna be their
End of
favorite
story.
smut writer, though.
Oh, maybe.
You'll be
It's
their
not,
favorite.
look, it's like 3 to 4
She'll be
scenes,
in
and
high school by then.
in the second book, like
It's
there's
really
really
not
only
bad.
the
It
second
is
book,
not a
she's
smut book
like
with some plot. It is a plot book
with
with
some
some
smut.
smut.
And in the second book, like two of the scenes are not even like, the main act. It's like other things. But
It
anyway,
alludes to it.
no, it doesn't
You're
allude to
fine.
anything. It doesn't allude to anything. You know what's happening, but it's not the main act. But anyway,
That's fair.
yeah,
I think, we're all adults in the situation and we all know what happens in romanticy books. And,
it's
if you
all
sit
good.
down thinking that this is going to be some lighthearted thing, you were not reading the right genre.
I
That's
was
that's up to
watching
you.
this TikTok today that was hilarious. It was like you're like reading this book and it's like you have the farmer's daughter, whatever, and she's here and she's going about this adventure and then all of a sudden big strong arms wrap around her and on her back she feels and then you can imagine what is going from there. And then she's like,
Yes.
and then you're aroused on the tube and I'm just like laughing because I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
All of a sudden, Mr. Beautiful walks into the room and all things fall apart.
oh yeah,
That's pretty much,
for
yeah.
sure.
Although I am loving Fourth Wing, I'm not gonna lie. It has the
It's
right
good.
balance
They're
of
good. I'm
character with magic, with, little Easter eggs that have been told from the beginning.
I
You
mean,
wondered if
those
they
are
were gonna
like
mean anything.
400. Oh, you'll find out that there are Easter eggs that you don't find out about until you get to your third book and
I already
probably
caught
the fifth.
one, which I was proud of to tell you that I caught, but that was because I was reading the actual Kindle book
Yeah.
and I can see why you wanted to read it as a book
Have
because you can't always tell when there are quotation marks and when things are in somebody's head.
has she gone back out on a parapet yet?
Yes, we're already past that. We're in
Okay,
battle.
perfect.
I'm literally at the last hour.
Yeah. Your
So
heart's gonna get ripped out. I'm just gonna warn you now.
oh no. I'm not, I don't know. I mean, I did
So,
just survive camp and I'm feeling really positive. Do I want to do this to myself? I don't know.
no, you'll be fine. It's not a
I
horrible rip
should
your
just
heart
start
out,
making quilts based on books because I feel like the mood in the book could really dictate a really strong concept.
for sure. I feel like you could play with like the colors of the dragons.
Well, not only that, but their moods and the dark and
Yeah.
the light and
Hmm.
all of this kind of stuff. I mean, you can make a concept based on anything. I mean, that was part of what we learned in school was the idea that we're going to watch this movie that you don't understand called Memento, and you're going to make
I
a whole
love that
concept.
movie. I love, love,
Yes.
love that movie.
Yes. We ended up making a concept for an aquarium based on that movie.
Yeah.
Would you ever
I would
imagine?
not
But we
have
did.
thought that. No. Guy Pearce is
No,
is a,
but this
is a
super
morsel of a snack. I loved him so much.
this
Still do.
whole concept from Memento ended up into us like creating this concept for this like light to dark, very dark idea of an aquarium, whereas you go down into the hill and into the different levels of the aquarium, you get to this kind of like darker level and to this darker level
That
again
totally works
where
too, because you could go like to the darker pressures and things.
so yeah, exactly. So you walked into the top floor and the whole building was built into a hill. So as you got to the lower levels, you were dealing with the lower levels of
The deep
fish
sea
and the
creatures,
fish like
yeah.
yes.
That's really
And
cool.
so
I
yeah.
love it.
But I mean you can take anything that you love and essentially I've seen people make it as light as like I love Harry Potter and I'm a Hufflepuff and so I'm going to make an idea of a quilt in the yellows and such and I'm going to
Mhm.
use the wood browns and I'm going to have badgers and it can be light but it can be dark like that too where you
Yeah.
have a movie that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense to a lot of people but the idea of like the darkness kind of settling into the deep
So
ends up making it a concept for an aquarium.
when I look at things, like there are specific lines in Fourth Wing that everybody just like
Mhm.
latches onto and like they mean
Yes. And if
so
you have a
much to
Kindle,
people.
they will highlight them and say, 50 some thousand people have highlighted this
Yeah.
line.
Well, like
And you can
so there's
see
a line
why.
that you're going to come up on soon that like everybody has latched onto for a certain character. And now that I'm like writing, I'm like, what are those lines going to be? Like, and I wonder if like Rebecca Yarros, when she's writing stuff, like there's this line
Thought
in
that
this
those lines would be the thing, or if she made those lines and they became the thing
exactly like, did you mean it to become the meme, or did the meme happen like in
because of
Onyx
what you
Storm?
said.
There's a character who goes, eyes here. And it like that is now like that was the redemption line for that character and it made him
Yes,
lovable and hot again and everybody is like now like that you
that's
say that
true. I mean,
line,
I can
you
I
say
can
that
think
line
of
eyes
moments in
here
so many
and
books.
everybody knows that's character's line. That's the moment we fell in love with him again. And like what?
There's like lines with Reese
Yeah. Like
in
do you
Akatar.
intend that to like Farrah Darling? Like, do you intend that
Yeah,
to be the line, or do people just does it become the line because people identify with it? And I think about that a lot. Like, I wrote a tragic death
that's a
scene, and
really good point.
I was like, is this like worthy of being one of those lines?
And that could stop you too from
It
creating in
can.
a way because you're
It a
like,
hundred
this is
percent
this
can.
is this is the fabric choice that I need to sit on to
Yeah,
decide if this is the sentence that is the design
it is.
that I'm going to go with.
And I think that's where, to bring it back to quilting, to set it down and walk away from it for a little bit and then come back later. I'm doing that all the time, like with my writing, the same way I used
Hmm.
to when I'm designing with quilts. Like,
And we're not talking about measuring things or in the middle of cutting things where you're
no, I'm
procrastinating,
talking
okay?
about
We're talking
deciding
about the big this
what fabric
design
is going to go
decisions
where, how am I going to use scale, how am I going to use color value, things like that, where I can walk away for a little
when
bit
if you have
and come
yeah,
back
you
to it
have a bundle of fabric, which is a lot what you had to do, right? You'd have a
all the
bundle
time.
of
Yeah.
fabric and you are asking the fabric, what do you need to create? Like, what do you want to be? Right? Sit on those decisions. Don't sit on the decision like I do. Like, do I really feel like cutting all these strips right now?
Like sometimes,
That's my
like,
kind of
for example,
procrastinating.
like when I was designing stuff, sometimes I knew this is it. Like when I designed frequency, when that came to me in the middle of the night, I was like,
Hmm.
this is the pattern. This is going to be amazing. People are going to love this freaking pattern. And they did. And I knew it. And it was one of our best-selling kits of
It
all
was
time.
fire from the
Every
moment it came out.
every
Yeah.
time, every time we redid that one, we sold out completely. Love it. Um, and sometimes like when I'm writing, it's the same way. Like there was one scene that I was writing where I like cried as I was writing it. And I was like, I've never had that reaction before. I'm like, I think this is going to be good. But then there are others where I'm like, I'm not so sure. I'm going to walk away for a little
I
bit. I'm going to come back and look at it and see if I can maybe make it
yeah.
better, you know, and
You were
I do that with a
also
lot of things.
you've been creating patterns for, I mean, your career at a
I have like
very rapid
150
rate.
patterns, 150 patterns. Like,
So
look
it
at this.
doesn't go to
Look
say
at
that
this,
I know
people. This is all
it's
my quilts
crazy.
that I've made. And this
You
isn't
were
even all of
not,
them.
I think it almost goes without saying, but at the same time it needs to be said, you weren't creating 100% bomb patterns necessarily every single time.
No,
They
definitely
were
not.
really good. And then there was some that were just like, this is
Way
like
over the top.
right on. It
Garden
spoke
plot,
to it. But
frequency,
you have to
those did really well.
try, right? Like you have to create some mediocrity.
Joan says this is a college
I
level literary quilting class. Upping my game. I'll be more thoughtful
know,
about my choices. Thank
right?
you.
Right? But it's true. It's like you were still creating wonderful publishable things. But that I'm not saying any hate, you know what I
No,
mean,
not every
exactly what I
pattern
mean.
was
It's not
well.
every pattern was like bomb should be like the thing. What was the one that you created with the purple and the green that you were going to do one thing with it and you ended up turning the blocks a different way and it ended up
Oh,
having a
yes.
star pattern. It was like
So
it spoke to you in a very different way once you
it
started
was.
working with it.
And that was honestly, I put that together. So a lot of times I was restricted not just by the number of fabrics, because we were always working with the same
Hmm.
number of fabrics in a line, but also with the amount of background fabric I had available to us. So I
Hmm.
think this particular month, can't remember the name of it offhand. Um,
I can't
but
either, and I want to remember it so badly because it turned out to be a
it's in one of
really
the
cool,
books.
almost a Texas Star type,
It's
but
in the third
not.
book. And I was designing it and I was realizing I was gonna do it different where there was a lot of negative space around these diamond blocks. And I realized it was gonna take 4 to 5 yards of fabric per quilt kit to do it. And we just did not have the amount of backing fabric in the warehouse to support
Hmm.
it. And I was like, can't do that. I need to significantly reduce the amount of background fabric that this is going to
Hmm.
work from a practical sense. And
Right.
so I arranged it to where these blocks were just radiating out from the center, and then we just had a little bit of background fabric on the outside. And it was very much a more of a medallion sort of setting.
It was kind of like
And
your ultraviolet one, but
it
it
was
was still
similar to that,
different.
but
I
less, it was less in that one. I can, if I choose to get up,
Oh,
I
we'll
can
have to
grab
think
it.
about it.
No, I'll get up and I'll get the pattern. It's literally behind me
It
on the
was
bookshelf.
it's worth
Um,
it because
it is.
it was a bomb pattern. Like that one sold out. I didn't get it. And I'm not a purple lover and I was like this pattern is special. And
Okay.
sometimes you come up with those ideas and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're great, but that's a lot of
Okay.
what I learned at camp this
So the
week.
pattern is called Sparkle, and it is in my
Oh,
book,
yes.
Fat Quarter Patchwork Quilts. And I had designed the block. Let me just pull up the block only. This was originally a Stash with Stephanie pattern. And so this is a very traditional fabric line where you were dealing with a set amount of light, set amount of medium, set amount of darks. And that's how a lot of traditional fabric printing goes. So I designed this block and I had a bunch of them and I was laying them out on my bed and I was going to do one thing with it. And I was like,
Hmm.
this is way too much background fabric from a practical standpoint. It will not work. And so I ended up putting it together in this way. I didn't know how it was going to work. I literally was just throwing them on the bed until I had used them all and in an
You were like
even way.
rotating them and
Yeah.
such to kind of figure out what it was going to be. After
And
you
I've
already had one
used,
idea, you were in one direction
yeah.
already.
And so this ended up using about a yard of background fabric, and we had plenty to do what we needed to do with it. And this was one that
Turned out so
really
cool.
sold out big time. And it was not my original intention to do that with it. I've actually used that diamond block setting like 3 different ways. um, in various quilts over the years. And it just is a lot of
But it's like
fun
your
to mess with.
quotes, right? You don't, sometimes you mean the quote to be the bombshell quote.
So
Sometimes the bombshell quote is just what people make the memes of.
I sent Chantel a scene that I wrote that I thought was pretty good. And she wrote back to me that she almost peed her pants reading it because it was so funny.
It
I did
was
not
true.
intend it to be funny. I
It
intended
was
it to
so
be,
funny.
I intended it to be
It
realistic.
was ironic funny. Your realism was so real that it was hilarious.
And
Because
so,
it
and I'm
just,
like,
you know, when
okay.
something hits home in such a way that, like,
Uh,
you can't help but laugh because it's too true.
yeah,
That is how that
that's
it,
that's how it was. This is one of the scenes that Chantel's gonna have to censor someday. But
yes, but it was so funny, and
I just like sent it
it
to her. I
it
was like,
what
hey, this is funny.
it didn't have the awkward feels at all. And she's like, "Does this feel weird or whatever?" I was like, "No, this is hilarious
I know
because it is a situation
that
that so many
everybody's been
people have
in.
been through, and
Uh,
it was so relatable. I like we all go through those,
I
moments
know.
where
I
it's
feel
just so
like,
relatable that you have to giggle. That was that scene.
and that's like anytime you create, like you can create something, but how it's interpreted, you
Hmm.
don't control that. You do not at all.
Not at
Like your
all. You have
dress,
no idea how
like
something
your
goes by.
dress. You walked
Oh my
upstairs, you're
God.
proud of your dress. Your husband's like, I think you need alterations. And you're like, I want to flip you the bird right now. Like that
I
is a
do,
hundred
but
percent what
he's
I would have
not
done.
wrong. I It
Uh,
means something and I have to figure that out. Although I still haven't figured that out, guys. How am I going to alter this dress?
you need to
But
do
I'm
a
going to read a
FaceTime
book
with
and
Stephanie
figure it
B
out.
is what you need to do.
I know. Well, I just need to take it to Stephanie B apparently. Stephanie 2.0 needs to be on here helping me out
I know,
because
right? Well, if you
I
come
was
up,
like, do I
we're
just
gonna
make a
go to the
top out of it? What do I do?
if you come up, we're going to the Atlas Collective and we're gonna hang out.
I can't wait because I want to go to the Cheers bar. I mean, the Atlas Collective.
They are open Sundays. I'm leaving town Sunday though, so
Yeah, it won't happen
I'm gonna
this
miss
week,
you.
but I do have to fix this dress. This is going to have to happen. But I'm creative and I've learned a lot this week. And although I haven't learned true skills, I've learned the grit to just kind of like suck it up
You
and go
learn,
there.
you got the permission to know what's correct and to do your own
Hmm.
thing beyond
Yep.
that.
And honestly, if it hangs right and it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
You are not going to the event where people are
Naked.
going to be like, well, we won't be naked for sure. That's the important
We
thing.
won't be
You have a
naked.
purse, it's okay. And, but you're not going to the event where people are going to be like judging you. They're going to be
No,
excited
they're going to be like,
and
wow, you
celebrating
made a
you.
thing.
And you can probably talk to people and be like, hey, this is the first one I did. How can I fix this? And you're going to
You're
have
right.
people who
It's an
are going to be
opportunity.
like, people are going to be like, here's what you can do. And you can come back with a million different
They're the
ideas
doula at the
and
coffee
you can
shop.
apply it. Exactly. Exactly.
They're
This
the
is what you
doula at
need.
the coffee shop. They just want to help. They're going to see the situation as an opportunity to help a young artist try to figure herself out.
Absolutely. And they'll be thrilled to do
My
it.
handbag is the opener, not the, oh, your dress is awkward. Let's talk about this. So at least the handbag is baller and
There
I
you
got
go.
that going for
You
me.
got that. All
We're
right.
going to give
With
it our
that,
best.
let's call it a
We
day.
got to go.
And I will talk to you. Well, we're off next week
And the week after.
and the week after. So we're taking 2 weeks off
So for 2 weeks,
and then we'll be back in July. Are we
we
really
just
coming
have too
back on
much
4th
stuff
of
going
July
on.
weekend? I,
No, after that. Maybe.
that means we're off
Maybe
for
it is
three
4th of
weeks.
July. We're
Okay,
off for three
so
weeks. We're
we're off
taking
for
a,
three
a
weeks,
really
people.
good break.
We're taking a 3 week break. We will see you in 3 weeks. We love you all. Enjoy your summers.
Maybe we'll drop a little video or something in the middle just to say hi. But yeah, we
Maybe.
have too many things. It is summer with children. We got places to
Yes,
go.
it is. I will
I
not,
want
I
to
will be
share
gone
some
a
of the
lot too.
frocktail stuff and things, but it's gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to
It's all good.
hope that I don't go naked.
We'll be back on July 11th. We'll see you then.
Yes.
Night,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Bye.